All right. Let me make sure I got the chat pulled up here. 1 second. Can somebody give me just an audio test to make sure you can hear me? Can you see the video? Are we good? I see thumbs up. We can hear you. We can see you. Okay. First off, welcome. Apologies that we had to do it in this Discord. There just wasn't enough of a ability for us to do anything on the Project Skydrop Discord in this particular fashion, in this particular way. So I do thank everybody who is here, who came over and made the hop. Everybody, I'm Vapok. My name is Pete Navarre in real life. Dox me all you want. Dota 2 has already done it. A lot of people asking me why I'm giving, TGX, aka Chris, a stage. The reality is, I will give anybody a stage if they want to say something. That goes to Dan, that goes to Chris, that goes to Jason, goes to Tom. Rest in peace. I hope he's okay. But at the end of the day, this is a platform where we were all involved in a treasure hunt that had some really interesting things that happened. There was heroes, there were villains, there were rule changes, there were things that we just had no idea what was going to happen. At the end of the day, a lot of drama happened, and I think for me personally, taking the SDNN out of it, I need closure, and I know that there's probably some other people out there that need closure as well. I'm hoping to hear Dan's story, just like we're about to hear Chris's story. And I know Chris has a video. He uploaded it. It looks like it's taking a long time. It'll probably be available during this Q&A. He was hoping that people had an opportunity to watch it before, but that's the case. So tonight, I am happy to say we have Chris is here. He has made it. I am going to pass it over, but before I do, just a couple housekeeping notes. If you want to ask a question and you're new to Discord, I'm going to try to guide you. In the top right corner of the stage screen that you see here, it'll be above and to the right of the square boxes that you see me talking out of. There's a hand, looks like this, and it says you should be able to showcase that you want to request something. It may actually be in the action bar. I'll be honest, I'm not sure what it looks like on your side, so it may be in the action bar where the sound and mic buttons are. But if you raise your hand and I see it in there, I'll call on you, and then we'll just kind of go from there. You have the option, if you want, which I will make. I will make you active to be able to speak if you want to verbally say something, or you can use the chat channel and type your question when I call. So if you want to raise your hand, ask a question, then I will call on you, and you can either type it or ask it. So. 1 second. So I'm being told the channel is full and people can't join. That would be incorrect because it's set to 10,000 people. 1 second. Just looking. Yeah, we're at 10,000 here, so can't be full. 50 at 50. Yeah, I see it. Okay, well, I don't know. Discord's messing up then because this is set to 10,000. Let me see if I can change something real quick. All right. Well, anyways, I don't want to waste anybody's time here. So if you can't get in, then I will do what I can as CJ's talking. So we're going to go from there. If people are in the chat room, see here. If people want to ask questions, just ping me. With your, but why is it in cap? With your question. Does anybody want to boost me to level 3 for a minute so I can get 10,000 people? Boost the server if you can. You can remove it afterwards. All right, there we go. Let's see here. Edit channel 1000. Save, got. All right, let's see here. I'm going to. Oh, I guess that's a kink. All right, we're gonna keep going. I will work on this as we go. All right, so I'm gonna pass it over to Chris. Chris, introduce yourself if you want. Say something. I'm gonna start pulling questions and then go from there. I do see more people joining. We're now at 150. Yep. I think people are able to get in now. So there we go. So I see a lot of people joining now. Okay, we're at 70, 150. I'm gonna wait for the. There we go. There we go. All right, we are getting people in now. Let me just edit that channel. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pass it over. We're going to unmute. Oh, yeah, there we go. And then place. And Chris, you are live.
Yo. I'm trying to get into this thing too here. One sec. All right, do that in a second. Man, where to start? There's let's see. I think what's important to say here is a couple things, as I told Pete when we get on here. The objective here today is not to spin, it's not to blame, it's not to focus on emotion. Objective here is to spit facts the whole way through, beginning to end. Certainly there could be opinions of how I've conducted myself in this game, in this competition, totally fine. What you don't know is all the facts of the case, if you will. And there's a lot to it. There's a lot of size to this. It's deep, it's multi-layered. And look, I've done myself no favors, throughout the past, couple of weeks, with my online persona, if you will. And, speaking in cryptic communication, being evasive in my answers. And there's a reason for that I think will come out. So I'll say I recognize the inflammatory communication style on my behalf. And so I take that and I own that. And I'm sure that pissed off a lot of people.
Sorry, Chris, 1 second. I'm being told that there's an echo. Are you, Chris, just to double check, are you connected to the Discord or are you just talking through the Zoom?
Through the Zoom.
You're talking through the Zoom? All right. Let me.
No, just kidding. No, actually. Do I need to be in the Discord at all for any reason?
I think if you wanted to join just for the mic and then they can get off of my mic, that would be probably best.
Sorry.
We'll leave the Zoom for any kind of your video and screen share. And once you're in, let me know and I'll find
Yeah, this is just fucked up, like going through the house open 50 screens. One sec, one more chance to click into the link here.
You have the link, right?
Says the stream is max, whatever. I'll close out of it. So should be no echo now. Yeah, no echo.
Are you connected or are you?
I'm not on the Discord. No.
Okay. All right. We have a sound check from people because I think we do need him to come through. Join your mic live whenever he talks. That's okay because it's supposed to be coming through me. I'm going to let him continue, and I'm going to work on getting a better sound as he goes. So go.
Yeah, like there's so much, and the video is not a crying baby video for an hour. It is not a blame anybody video for an hour. I spent a lot of time today checking my emails, checking my texts, going back, making a historical record from the beginning through the middle to the end to really present, hey, guess what? And here this happened, and here that happened. This was said, that was said, this was done, that was done. And yeah, that's the focus of my video. Is really to present a fact-based chronological narrative, and then people can make their own decisions from there. Certainly, I probably presented 5% of the story in chat, and so that's the focus of the video. YouTube told me it was taking like 11 hours. Now we're at 17 hours. Who knows? But it's a shame that it's not ready tonight. But here I am, and I don't want to just dive into questions. And let's keep the hate at a minimum. We can be maybe civil with your questions, and I'll be civil in my response. But if anybody wants to sort of spew hate and whatnot, let's channel that through a constructive way.
Just to make sure here, I'm going to turn off my speakers. People are giving me a thumbs up that you sound better. I sound better, so I think we got this sound worked out.
Thanks, guys. No, so, sound better.
It's what
a community. How many people do we have in here?
I'm showing 106 so far out of 150.
Oof. All right. Keep it triple digit.
All right.
Yeah. Go ahead. Tell me what's on your mind. No questions are off limits. I told Pete I will answer everything and anything, honestly, straight up. There might be a couple things that I can't discuss, and I'll tell you why, and I'll just say I can't tell you more than that. But nothing is off limits, and you're going to get straight up facts. So hit me. What you got?
All right. So looking through here, I think people are having a hard time finding the show request button because I don't see anybody, but I do know we have some in the chat here. So let me pull up my ping, start out the sound. Jen says, quote, you said you didn't have Dan's secret words. You never asked him for it. How were you able to solve it without that information?
Yeah, awesome. So let me I'm gonna do a non-answer before I get to the answer. I have seen in the past couple of days a couple of images and strong, not even indications, strong direct points to the location of the bounty. And those people do not have 4 secret words. So let me just say very clearly, there are a handful of people on the Discord, probably more who are quiet, which are typically the dangerous ones, who are able to figure out options of where the bounty is, use process of elimination and deduction to figure out these are some areas we need to search. Let me give you the quick on that. Okay, if you're able to get to the point where you identify the mountain names, okay, and you would need to solve the plain text 21 message puzzle. We'd also need to decipher the trophy, triangle, square, all that kind of stuff. If you do those 2 things, okay, you have enough information to whittle down the search area to 12 squares of 1 square mile in New England. Okay, from there, if you're good enough, okay, you can roll out some of those squares and portions of those squares where forests do not exist, where they're over city, where they're over water, etc. So that leaves you 12 options of small, relatively small area. Okay, from there, you have to obviously organize a search and so forth. And several people are taking that strategy. Somebody else is doing something similar, but they wouldn't tell me their source and what they're doing and how they're doing it. So I'm not sure of that strategy. So there are several ways to get to that point. Now, on my side, you're right. I've never asked for Dan's information, ever. And he will, he will tell you that. Let me, you guys, this is like so much. So I'm trying to be like concise and not be so verbose in my response. When I connected with Dan on October 7th, and we connected electronically, that was soon after he was identified, but before the next phase 2 was initiated. And I reached out to him and said, hey man, I got the weather solved too. That's super cool. I wrote up on Vapok's recommendation, wrote up 12 pages of my solve, and just love to hear how you did it and see if we have similarities, and it's a cool game and blah, blah, blah. And he wrote back, yeah, that's great. Weather, just some pleasantries. I wrote back and I said, hey, this is so cool. Like, hey, I'd love to talk. And hey, if you want to, like, we can sign an NDA. Drink. Who's drinking? NDA. And I said that will ensure confidentiality and privacy, give you the confidence that I'm not going to go spill the beans or, whatever. Like, look, we could do that. It's safe. And he wrote back and sort of ignored the question and kind of gave me detail about his solve and shit on Jason a little bit for how he was handling the game. I wrote back and I said again for a second time, and I can pull up my phone right now and show you guys. Hey, super cool. Love to chat. Whatever I said. If you want to, again, I'll send you an NDA right now. I've got it all filled out, and like I just want to talk to you on the phone, dude. NDA, we can talk. And he wrote back and he's like, no, this is all good. I appreciate you reaching out. Between me and you. And then he gave me just some piece about the trophy, which I'll just keep confidential. It's inconsequential now, but in the spirit of him asking me to keep it between us, I'll do that. And this was around the time when Jason was like, oh, the bounty isn't necessarily Dan's. I don't know what's going to happen. He didn't take a video. And he flashed his trophy around. And if you recall, Dan was on an interview where Jason said to him, like, hey, you might get the bounty scooped out from under you. Your meteorology buddies can't help you. He was like, really? Right? And so there was this indication that something was happening. And my communication with Dan after the first day or two via email, that started bubbling up in the chat more. Jason was like, and I reached out. I was like, hey, are you in Discord? No. And I sent him screenshots of Jason. And I have to look at exactly what it says. But, it was basically like, Dan fucked up. He ruined the game. We have to do something new. He's not entitled to the bounty. He's going to have a head start. And I messaged Dan. I was like, did you see this? This is like so weird. What's going on? And he's like, yeah, I mean, I'm pissed. Jason's not handling this the right way. They're really trying to drum up the drama. They talk about a long form documentary. They talked about a movie. They told me I shouldn't sell my rights too cheap if we do a movie. And I think they're just drumming up drama. They want me to win, but I think they just want more people involved. They didn't make enough money. So I think they're trying to get more people in and make money. I was like, well, they shut off registration, Dan, but that's besides the point. And he goes, the bounty, he goes, and I know that they're afraid that I'm going to sue them if I don't get the bounty because the bounty is rightfully mine. Okay. And then I sent him a screenshot of something Jason said in that manner. And then I get a call an hour later or something. Hello? It's like 5 minutes before a meeting and it's Dan. I was like, oh, Dan, what's up, dude? He's like, yeah, hey, thanks for keeping me in the loop with stuff. This is so weird. I'm like, it is really weird. Like, what is going on? And then I had to go real quick for a meeting, and then we set up a Zoom that day, and we Zoomed for 90 minutes, and we just talked about the solve. We talked about current status of the game and so forth. So from there on, that was October 7th, Dan and I were in touch very frequently, every day for sure, and then later on, hours for a day, a lot. And Dan will tell you this. Okay, he will tell you this. I'm just straight up. I have never, ever, ever asked for information from Dan. Ever. In fact, when it came to the puzzle, and I had recruited code breakers, right? Because we got the sense like, oh, something's happening with the trophy. There's going to be a new skill-based mechanism that Jason said, and it seemed to be wide open to the public. And so I was like, well, shit, let me get ahead of that. So I got code breakers on my team, like legitimate professional code breakers. And, the idea was, hey, Dan, you do your thing, man. I'll do my thing. And if at some point it doesn't make sense for us to communicate, like, that's fine. But like, we can sort of move in parallel in this competition. And so when information was shared, and hopefully y'all are still following this, but when information was shared, it was the night the puzzle came out. Now, I can't tell you how much Dan and I were in touch. It was crazy. So Friday morning, Dan's like, yeah, Jason's gonna send me the puzzle sometime. I'm like, all right, well, that's cool. Like, good for you. Let me know when it comes and what it looks like, and if you want some help. Friday morning, Jason forwards him an email with his invoice number or whatever it might be. And so Dan thinks that is the puzzle, because Dan's like, oh, well, it has to be something only I have. If I have a head start and there's an invoice number on here, that must be the puzzle. That must be my head start. And I forgot what he did or how he did it, but he somehow like took that like 26 number long invoice number and did something with it. I don't know. And it came up with coordinates somehow. And he ended up in southwestern Massachusetts, and like searching that area like all day. And we talked throughout the day. And he had to buy Skechers boots after because he fell in dirt and whatever. And so we get through the night, and he thinks that's the puzzle. It gets to be 11 p.m. and the puzzle comes out to the public, right? And so I text him. I'm like, hey, did you see the puzzle? The public has it now, you know? And he goes, what puzzle? I go, the puzzle. It just came out, the puzzle. And he goes, I don't know. I'm like, check your email, maybe. And maybe I sent him a screenshot. He goes, oh, shit. I go, what? He goes, I had no idea that's what that was. Jason sent me an email to like log in, you know, with my secret words to get the puzzle. I just thought it was like the invoice that I was like, so you haven't seen it yet? He's like, no. I'm like, dude, you had this like 13 hours ago. He's like, oh my God. So he gets out and looks at it. And as we all saw, right, we're like, oh, what the hell is this? And so we're talking, and I think we're on the phone at that point. And he's like, I don't know what to do. I was like, do you want help? He's like, no, I want to try to figure this out myself. And I was like, all right, cool. Actually, this is all text. I have it on text. He's like, all right, I'm going to do it myself. I'm like, all right, cool. I said, let me know if you need help. Like, I had Bill. Bill's my main code breaker. I had Bill. Bill's looking at it, you know, kind of trying to figure it out. And if you want to pick somebody's brain, or like you want to like connect to like a professional, like let me know. We can talk. And I think it was around 12:18, if I remember correctly. He texts me and he's like, I need help. I said, okay, cool. And I can't remember if I think this is in text and or email. If not, definitely on the phone. And this is what I said to Dan. I said, Dan, we can get on the phone with Bill. We'll do a 3-way call. And here's my promise to you. And Dan will tell you this. Ask him. Like, you guys don't believe me, right? This down and ask Dan. I said, this is my promise to you. We get on the phone. We want to ask you any information. Nothing. We'll try to help you as much as we can with whatever you want to give us, or nothing at all. And maybe Bill can kind of tell you the puzzle and how it works, and maybe you can go do it. I don't know. But like, we're not going to be like, all right, Dan, well, I need your information and we're going to help you. That never happened. He's like, okay. So we got on the phone with Bill, have a 3-way call. And, you know, Bill's looking, he's like, yeah, I think I get it. Like, I kind of think I know, but like, I don't have information to like test it, you know? And so Dan was like, all right, well, if I give you like a couple words, can that help? And Bill's like, yeah. So Dan gets part of his 12 words, which, as you all know at that time, is in the public domain, relatively speaking, right? Those 12 words. And some people have all of those 12, so they're not super top secret. So I think Dan gives Bill maybe 2 words. 2 or 4 words, I can't remember. And so Bill's like, all right, cool. Let me hang out. Let me just do some stuff. And if this makes sense, I'll come back to you. I don't know, 20 minutes later or something, Bill calls us back, you know, back on 3-way. It's like 12:30, 12:45 in the morning. And Bill's like, all right, yeah, I got it. Always drink your Ovaltine. Like, I got it. The words are working. Like, Dan, like, what do you want to do? And Dan's like, all right, well, let me just give you the rest, because Dan is now feeling like, fuck, I'm 12 hours behind, or, you know, 13 hours behind the puzzle, 14 hours at this point. I don't know how to do this. This guy's doing like that. So Dan's like, all right, here's the rest of my 12 words. So boom, Bill's like, all right. So Bill goes to work, and I think it's like 2:30 in the morning maybe, and we get back on the phone, all of us together, and Bill's like, here's a plain text. Always drink your Ovaltine, don't fly to Las Vegas, Mountain One's a traitor, whatever the whole thing is, okay? And we're like, wow, dude, Bill, awesome job, cool. Now, my side, I've sort of mentally, you know, earlier in the week, it was kind of like, hey, cool, Dan, you do your thing, I'll do mine, or whatever. And now this is pivoted to like, hey, I'll just sort of like support you, Dan, like support to be on the winning team. Like, I'm not going to compete against you directly. Like, I'm not going to take those words in that plain text and go do my own thing and like, oh yeah, don't tell Dan this, well, we're really trying to help him. I'm really doing this. That wasn't at all. It was just like, I mean, I probably don't have a chance, so I might as well help you and I'll be part of your story. And that's cool, So anyway, that is how we unlocked the first puzzle and how and why Dan shared his words with us. Now, I thought about this in my video today about the 4 secret words. So how did we get 4 secret words from Dan? And it actually, as I was talking out loud, I was like, oh yeah, that's how it happened. So we solved the plain text. And now you guys think about this. We solved the plain text. And at the end, and if y'all don't know this, I can screen share and show you what I'm talking about. At the end, it gives you a formula to figure out the coordinates. And the formula is something like S1, M1 dot, the secret word 1, mountain 1, secret word 2, secret word 3, mountain 2, whatever it may be. And I don't know, we obviously weren't like, hey, we need your secret words to put in the formula, because that's dumb, because the formula is right there. Like, we could, like, Dan could have just like taken that formula and it's obvious that he could just plug them in. And obviously we didn't coerce him into giving us secret words because we didn't need them at that point. There's a formula there. And I actually I'd have to go back and look at text messages and emails to see if there's like a definitive moment where like why those words get shared. But I believe it was in the spirit of, it's like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. We have the plain text. We're on a roll. Like, Bill is helping figuring it out. And, I think at that point, Dan was like, well, hey, here's the rest of it. Like, this is everything I got. Like, how do we finish this? How can we make this happen? Like, I want to do this, And so that's how the words came out. Long story, but there you go.
All right. Moving on. Let's see here. Blaze, I'm gonna invite you to speak. You are happy to use your mic, but or you can type it in the chat.
Oh, okay. Hello, how are we doing?
That is Blaze.
What's going on, guys?
I cannot hear.
Yes. You cannot hear because of that. Hang on a second.
Should I get back into the Discord thing?
Can you hear me? You can hear me, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. No, don't get back.
1, 2, 3.
Blaze, go ahead and ask your question. I'll repeat it back to Chris. He can't hear me through the Zoom. He can't hear you through the Discord to Zoom. Amateur hour over here.
My biggest question is just, if we're not willing to share the coordinates or anything exact yet, can we share the forest or the park or the general area that the bounty was found?
So the question is if we can't share the coordinates right now, is it possible to share a forest or a general area that the bounty was found?
So that's like the most. I have so many DMs, people being like, "Can you tell me the coordinates?" The answer is no, and here's why. An argument can be made that the only reason that I located the bounty and took the bounty in my possession was because Dan gave me his 4 words. Okay. Let me just say that I'm speaking from a legal perspective. Okay. That is categorically false. Now, the 4 words expedited the process. The 4 words added value to the solve, but the 4 words were not the only key to unlock this puzzle. And, 2 things. 1, Jason is with almost 100% certainty that nobody can ever found the bounty because how they design the puzzle. That's bullshit. Okay. And 2, for my case, it supports my case if other people get to that bounty without the 4 words. So I'm not going to give coordinates. I'm not going to give general directions. I'm not going to give any further identifying locations than I already have. And period. Because A, I'm going to prove Jason wrong, and B, on my own side, it's going to support me to realize that, oh wow, so hold on, Dan, your key wasn't the only key here, okay? And I know that because I've seen I've seen on Discord where people are, what they're doing, and they're pretty fucking close. And I am willing to bet this entire Discord, what's today, Thursday? I don't know how if they get search teams or whatnot, but I would bet, this is going to piss off a lot of people. I bet a gold coin by next Friday, somebody will get to that bounty spot, okay? And without the forwards. That's how confident I am. So that's why I'm not going to give it up.
Okay. Let's see here. Looking on for the next one. And just to confirm, you're not going to say the forest name. Okay. All right. Next person is Mel996. I'm going to invite you to speak. You are also willing to type if you don't want to speak.
No, I am theoretically here.
Oh.
I can't hear you.
Oh yeah, Mel, he can't hear you. So go ahead and state your question, and I'm gonna.
Oh man, I want to hear it. I want to hear if there's like fire in the voice or what.
I will do my best to imitate the fire of Mel.
There's no way that I can hear.
That's a bummer since you won't capture my meandering way of speech.
I tried to get it earlier so we can test all this, and well,
busy man.
I guess the long and short of it is so he said multiple times that has been no agreement between him and Dan. Also said in chat, no NDA, this, that, and the other thing. He's offered NDAs. Cool. So did he at any point then tell Dan that Chris, was only in it to help him? Only in it to help him. And if not, like, why would Dan trust him at all?
Okay. I'm gonna say, yeah. I'm gonna do some parts, and Mel just say the second part of that. So, Chris, you have said multiple occasions that there was no contract or formal agreement with Dan. It sounds like there was no NDA or whatever language we're using for that.
NDA. Are we doing a drinking game here still?
NDA came out.
NDA.
And Mel, what was the second part of that?
Asking if there was at any point Chris told Dan that like he is just in it to help him, like I guess not to gain anything.
No NDAs, no agreements. But was there at any point that you asked Dan, "Hey, can I help you to just help him, just to only help him?" And then was there any how did you get him to trust you in that particular case?
To the latter question, right, that was the nature of the relationship in the beginning before phase 2 began, which was let's connect and talk. And hey, I'm going to you're not in Discord. Let me shoot you some information and kind of latest updates in Discord and get you your finger on the pulse of the Discord. I think it was said, implied, right, that dude, I'm not looking for anything for you. I'm not trying to climb on your shoulders to get further ahead or anything. It was just a natural evolution, and we connected as well. Just personally a little bit, so that was helpful, right? It wasn't a ruse. It wasn't I'm not that psychotic or I'm not that sociopathic that I can keep somebody on a hook for 7 days. When I fucking tell you guys, you guys don't understand. And maybe this makes me look more evil, but I've spent so many freaking hours with that guy, and so many hours, up to 3 a.m. multiple times, multiple nights in a row. And I say that because it's not somebody that's putting on a ruse, that this whole thing is a sham and a show. We hadn't even gotten to what happened. Okay. So no, there is no nefarious intent. There's no setting him up this whole time. It was just simply we hit it off. Right, like someone upstairs called me. We hit it off, and it was just sort of like a non-discussed understanding that like, okay, like let me just support you a little bit and go from there. The NDA topic. This is really important. It's really important. When you're dealing with money like this, you've got to be savvy. You've got to be smart. You got to protect your ass and protect the ass of the person you're working with. All right. I had a team of like 25 people ready to go on phase one. What would I do if we found the bounty and we didn't have any agreements? I want to keep all myself and fuck you all. How do you split it? You've got to like have a plan. Like, okay, if this team like comes into money, what do we do? Whose role is what? Who's contributing to what? We want to make sure that everybody feels a part of it and feels it's equitable and so forth. So I offered that to Dan a bunch of times. He said no, and that's fine. And my whole premise was, hey, look, if I assist him, a little bit, and I can help him, and maybe he gets it, I'll be connected to that. That's really cool. He'll probably throw me a few $1,000. That'd be sweet. A little bit of time here and there, make some money. Cool. If that happens, it doesn't, that's fine. I'll be still part of the story, and that's great. Let me ask you guys this question, and follow me here. And in the video, I talk about the extent of my help. The video that was published, I edited that for Dan. That video is 22 minutes long. I have the original one. And the second half of the video is a little wacko. And I was like, you can't post that, dude, and here's why. Also, blur the fucking trophy in the first 12 minutes. Like, blur the fucking trophy, and here's why, and here's how to do it. He didn't do it. Besides the point. So, I was, connected with Dan in a way that was also trying to coach him and help him be strategic in this game without expecting anything in return. So let me ask you this question. It'll become clear and it'll be quantified my impact on Dan in terms of my support and pushing him to be successful and making him think a little bit smarter, okay, which is really hard to do. So if Dan got the bounty, we don't have an NDA, Dan got the bounty and got it, kept it all for himself, and I put in 30 hours of work over 4 days, am I due something for that? Am I? I would make the argument that would say, I am, dude. I know I didn't ask for anything, right? But I put 30 hours in. You can throw me a bone, right? And then I might make the argument to say, oh, okay, let me bring it real here. Okay? We did almost an all-nighter on Friday night puzzle. Saturday, I was on with him all day. Sunday, I dragged his ass to Maine. He drove an hour and a half to Maine with his family in the car. We got to the spot that we thought we were searching. And he was like, I can't do this. This is too scary. It's dark. What if we get shot? We're in the boonies up here. And I was like, we're here, dude. He's like, he drove an hour and a half back home. So he did 3 hours for nothing. And I'm like, Dan, I'll go search it for you, dude. He's like, okay. I'm like, I don't care. I'll go search it. So I searched for Dan from, 11 to 1:30 in the morning. I got home around 2:30, got to sleep around 3:30. Okay. So when I say like I was supportive and helping, right, that's how I'm quantifying it. So get this, Monday night, I didn't know this until Jason said, and there's a lot more story here too, but he apparently, I know that somebody broke the code, the base 3 cipher, because we talked at 9 o'clock on Monday night. And he's like, oh my God, somebody just emailed me and they have the base 3. In the previous days, people have been contacting him. Hey, I have this. Are these your keywords? Hey, I have those words. Have you done this? And so we're getting temperature checks to go, oh man, people are like figuring this out, Dan. We gotta move, dude. Like, we have to move. People are like telling you they're figuring shit out. I see in Discord people figuring shit out. Like, oh my God. So at 9 o'clock Monday night, he's like, yeah, they emailed me. They know the base 3. And I was like, whoa, like, yeah, this is moving, man. Holy shit. And he didn't sound too nervous that I think about it, but whatever. And I was like, okay, tomorrow let's regroup tomorrow and so forth. Well, apparently at 11 o'clock, he emails Jason and says, I know the coordinates. I know where to go. He never told me. And we were a team. like an informal, unofficial team. So look, that's his prerogative. We didn't have any agreement. So like, I have no feeling about that. But I felt a little bit like, oh, that's interesting. So he was going to go get the bounty by himself without telling the two people, or the three people that solved the whole fucking puzzle for him, okay, coached him through this whole fucking deal. And he's going to get the bounty and do what with it? Keep it for himself? Maybe throw our team a couple bucks, right? So then I would be in position to go, hey, deserve. I got it. Like, you got 4 words, fine, but we did everything else. Without us, you wouldn't be anywhere. So that's my question to you. If Dan did that, would I be entitled to anything? If you say yes, well, I think you're right. If you say no, I'm not entitled to anything, then your argument is the fact that Dan is entitled to the whole bounty because that's where the game's set up. But then guess what? That's an issue with the game, not me as a player. If he deserves a whole bounty, that's Jason and Tom, how they set the game up, right? So that's different from like me getting a cut. So that's why NDAs are important. And look, if Dan did screw me out, even though I put in all that work and I got him to that position with my team, I could sue him. And there are certain terms in a certain way that basically says I'm deserved to get paid for the work that I did. And you profited unjustly because of my work, and that's not fair. I could sue him to do that. But without an NDA, without a written agreement of terms, it's pretty hard to do. So we kind of skipped some chapters there, but that's that piece.
So, Chris, I'm trying to go in order of the raised hands, but there was a question in the chat that is on the same topic here, so I'm going to go ahead and just ask it. And it's from Gridlock, and he goes, "Are you, since we're on it, says, are you splitting any portion of the bounty with Dan?"
1 second here. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Let me talk a little bit about that. You can make an argument to say, finders keepers. Fuck it, finders keepers. That's how Jason set the game up. That's how this game was organized. Trophy, finders keepers. A hunter walks across and finds in the woods, finders keepers. And you all know that Jason has been emphatic. We think only Dan can solve it. We're almost 100% sure, but it's abandoned property in the woods. Wherever it gets it. It's not Dan's right to get it. Okay? And that's the premise. So, on one hand, whoever gets there can say, yeah, that's mine. Fuck everybody else. It's all me. Okay? Now, on my behalf, I have contracts with my code breakers, right? So I get them a percentage of my profit. And that's fair, and I'm happy to do that, right? I'm happy to do that because they work for me for free until we found something that we weren't guaranteed to find, and they deserve a payment. And it's a nice, hefty payment. Dan deserves something, in my opinion. Legally speaking, do I have to pay him? It's a gray, probably do, but he'd have to sue me and litigate and take a couple of years, and that would cost a ton of money and so forth. So yes, I made a decision to absolutely pay out Dan in a manner that I thought his contribution was fairly valued. And Dan did not like that. If you have an NBA team, you got 15 guys in the roster. Does your 15th guy get paid as much as your star player? Okay, your third player get paid as much as your first player? No, you pay for performance. In a court of law, in these situations, you get paid for performance. So if Dan comes to me and says, Chris, you found the bounty, I want 80% of that. That is my bounty. I want 80% of that. What would you guys do? Dan, golly, Dan, you're right about that. You know what? I'm just such a nice guy, Dan. You know what? Here you go. This is all yours. You're right, man. This is your bounty. That's not your problem. That's the game maker's problem. If he thinks he's entitled to the whole bounty and it's stolen from him, then he sues Jason Tom, not me. Okay, so we attempted to negotiate and attempted to quantify each person's contribution. I did this on Monday, by the way, before anything happened. On Monday, I guys, the story is so big, but let me try to stay on track. So we try to come to a negotiation. We are trying to negotiate a very fair. And Dan, we're trying to negotiate. I tried to do this on Monday. When we realized on Sunday afternoon that our mountain guesses were wrong, and our team and Dan were like, fuck, like, holy shit, what are we missing? At that point, we really weren't focused on the base 3 because we thought that was a Bitcoin wallet. So we did some work there, but we were just focused on like the messages. Did we get that right? What are we missing? We spent so much time trying to guess mountains. We were doing all these data analyses and so forth. And so on Sunday, our team was like, shit, there's like, we might have a lot of work ahead of us. So we thought we were there, but Dan, like, man, we might have a lot of work ahead of us. That means I'm gonna have to take time off of work to maybe research something, to spend more time. I haven't fucking worked for 3 weeks, as I know many of you haven't. My code breakers who are professionals, they're saying the same thing. Like, my personal life is suffering because I'm dedicating time, which is fine. We can do this mad dash from Friday to the weekend, and if you find it awesome, fun, everybody wins, no problem, maybe throw us a bone, whatever. But we got to the point on Sunday where we're like, man, there's a lot of work coming up here. And I said to my team, do we need to talk like agreement? You know, because if we're going to work for free, we need to know that we're going to be like compensated if I'm like literally not doing my real job. And my team was like, yeah. So Monday morning, I emailed Dan, and I'm like, hey, Dan, we know we're at a pivot point. We're all exhausted. We put in a lot of work together here. Let's come up with an agreement that we're all happy with, right? So like we just have something to base our future on here. And I didn't even tell him what. I was like, you tell me, you know, what you think our value is to the team and what our value is, right? And let's then from there we can talk numbers, negotiations, and whatnot. And Dan wrote back a couple hours later, and he goes, gosh, you know what? I didn't really think about that. You know, I know you guys were just happy to be a part of it, but you're right. You know what I mean? Like if I was working for free without guarantee or anything, like that would be hard too. You know, like I hear you, you know, you're right. And then he made this really weird, I'm happy to show you the email. He made this really weird pivot where he goes, you know, I was going to allocate $10,000 to hackers to help me solve, decipher the trophy. You know, maybe we put that back out there. Maybe we float that back around. So, you know what he said? What he said was basically deflected the question. And what he said was, why don't I go back on YouTube and offer 10 grand to anybody who can help me find a solution? Now, mind you, guys, I fucking searched all night for him when he came out to Maine and was like, this is too scary. I have to leave, and drove all the way back to Boston. Okay. Sleepless nights on Friday. I'm exhausted. My wife is like, hates my, like, she doesn't want to hear about this guy anymore. So that was a little insulting. So I'm like, gosh, oh, wow, okay. You want to give 10 grand to somebody else. When I'm like, hey, our team, can we? So I write back later, and basically I'm just kind of assume, I just take that 10 grand and attach it to our team. And one of my code breakers is like, I wouldn't say famous, but like he solved the Zodiac Killer cipher after 51 years. I would say that guy's pretty accomplished. Okay, you look up Zodiac Killer cipher solve, it's this guy. I'd say he's pretty accomplished. Okay, the work that he did up to that point was already worth 10 grand as it is. So I wrote back and said, gosh, 10 grand for our team. Even though he was saying 10 grand out, you know, put it out 10 grand, and I'll screen share and show the email if anybody's doubting me. But I said, gosh, 10 grand for my team, that doesn't really cover it, Dan. Like, we really need something better. And I went hard. And I was like, how about 60-40? We go 60, you go 40%. Because you know what? Without us, you don't get anywhere. We've done all the work, literally. And we've coached you and so forth. And that's when he called me at 9 o'clock and was like, no, That's not going to work. And we didn't come to terms, and we just said, we'll just talk tomorrow and maybe kind of go from there. And that's, and, you know, obviously Monday night went down. And so there it is. I mean, I forgot the question, but that's that.
All right. So, by the way, the peanut gallery here is asking for faster answers because I think there's quite a few questions. So
Okay.
maybe we can do some lightning rounds here.
Yeah, I'll be more concise. Sure.
Right, you happen to use the word emphatic, and it turns out that was a question in the chat was by somebody named Emphatic. And so the question here is, it's going back to a comment you mentioned about Dan getting an email from Jason, or Dan emailing Jason. It says, how did you know that Dan emailed Jason at night? We didn't. We being like the population of the members chat, we didn't know about that until the next day.
Yeah, that's what I knew about too. And I screenshot that and texted to my team because Jason said it in the chat publicly. Right, 11 o'clock at night, Jason emailed us. He said the boss said no, he couldn't go out. He's going to get in the morning, 2 a.m. He emailed me the coordinates. And that's when I was like, holy fuck. He did? So he was going to actually go out and solve it all by himself and get it all by himself and never even alerted. Now, mind you, I fucking searched in the main woods for like 3 hours for that guy. And I was on the phone with him most of the time, you know, and I was like, keep it like, and so just, you know, imagine, you know, if you put all that work in and somebody's maybe going to go do something and not tell you. And then, you know, I'm not going to guess I'm not going to guess what he would do. But
so
you know,
when we learned about the email that Dan sent to Jason, that was after the bounty was taken.
Yeah, same with me. I learned at the same time as everybody else in the public Discord.
Okay.
I didn't know about it until then.
Moving on to the next question. Looking back at the raised hands now, just going in order here. I'm going to ask BBLR to invite to speak. You can either say what you wanted to say or say it in the Discord or type it.
Yeah, there we go. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Chris can't, but I will relay what you say.
Perfect. Do you have any remorse for stealing the money from Dan, knowing that it was for his son's college fund?
Okay. Chris, do you, verbatim, I'm trying to say this. Chris, do you have any remorse for stealing the bounty that was supposed to go to Dan's child's college fund?
That's funny. It's not funny. Okay, the principle is funny. Look, I wish that Dan and I came to terms. I do. I wish that we sat down and said, and he said, I need you guys. You've been helpful, and you know what? This is part of your hunt as well, and I want to recognize that, and let's find out a way to make it work. And we weren't greedy. You know, like my 60-40 suggestion was in counter to his $10,000 to somebody else suggestion. And we weren't greedy. I wish we did. I wish he was like, hey, you know what? This is how I want to split it up. Or this is how, you know, that was my regret. I wish we did that. And I gave him that chance. And I initiated that Monday morning early before anything was ever solved or before we knew, obviously, what the bounty was. If your question in principle is, it's Dan's bounty. That is not a problem with me. Okay, that's a problem with Jason and Tom when they set up the game. And Dan does feel like it's his bounty he's entitled to. But guess what? Jason and Tom said it's a public puzzle. Whoever gets it, gets it. We think only Dan can do it, but it's the abandoned property. We can't control reality. Whatever happens, happens. So that's not my problem. Okay, my team did the work. My team solved it. Gave me the answer. Dan and I didn't have an agreement anymore. Okay, so I wish we came to terms. And again, if that is your premise, then that's a problem where Dan needs to sue the creators of the game and to say, gosh, you guys really fucked me over. That was my bounty. And you opened up some players and somebody else cut it. But in short, yeah, I do regret. I wish that we could have come to an agreement where we all win. And now we're trying to do that after the fact, and it's challenging.
looking down, question from Vernon. Vernon. Oh my God, these names. Vernon Hartist. Sorry. He asks the question. So Dan was going to do something. Parentheses. Go get the bounty without telling you about it. And you questioned the ethics on that. But isn't that exactly what you did by grabbing the gold without telling him first?
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, fair point. I mean, so here's the difference. Tuesday morning, after I was trying to, get all my affairs in order and, get legal representation and what do I do, how do I do it, and so forth, right? Then the next thing was, okay, how do I split this up appropriately? There's no agreement, okay, but I want to split this up because it's only fair and it's right. And I offered Dan, a fair share for this team of 4. And I know what those numbers were, okay, and they're far greater than what Dan has suggested to go pay somebody else to do. And so, I think what he would have done if he gave anything to us, would have been, generous enough, but I think minimal. So,
Okay.
and I think I do bring that up also to be like, there's 2 sides to every story, right? And that's that. But no, that's a valid point.
All right. Moving on to the next question, I'm going to see that Stoke Commander. I'm going to invite you to speak. You may speak or you may type your question. Just a reminder, if you do speak, Chris can't hear you. I will relay the question.
Hey, congrats on the win. First thing first, can you show us the gold? And 2, what tools did you use at night to find the bounty?
All right, so Stoke Commander says, congrats on the win. First question is, can you show us the bounty? And then the second question is, what tools did you use at night?
Oh yeah, funny question. So yeah, show you. Some reason thought that I had a GPS or an infrared, thing, but it had a fishing knife. I had a fishing knife in the pocket here, and people thought it was a tool or something. So I had a flashlight, a fillet knife in my pocket, and I had my phone, and for the GPS, and obviously the backpack. Bounty is quite beautiful. So I know I forgot what Jason described this as. It's a 1 ounce. I forgot the term, but it's on a molding, and you break it off there and so forth. And then we have I haven't counted, but a bunch of these kind of really nice 1 ounce coins. These several 1 ounce bars, which is really nice. And I think my favorite piece, my kid's favorite piece. Very heavy, very, very heavy. Is this nice nugget, which is a $5,000 piece of gold, right? And so, if I put it on my hands, it's not very big. So, this is $87,000.
Now you're going to share that with all of us, right? Just kidding. That was my question. Can you hear us, Chris, or did we lose you?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So the next question is to Hilberto. I'm going to invite you to speak. You may speak or type in the chat.
Hi.
Hi.
I've been wondering to ask him how bad his Wi-Fi is if it's taken this long to upload his video.
How bad is your Wi-Fi if it's taking this long to upload your video?
Hey, good question, right? Good fucking question. I'm at 5%.
5%.
It's crazy.
Right. We'll watch the video tomorrow, I guess, guys.
Yeah, no, look, it's, let me just say to the video, I mean, you hear how I'm speaking tonight, and obviously I'm a little fired up, but it's hard to kind of jump around. But the video is very organized and timeline. I state dates, I have time records of communications. It's completely fact based, you know, a little bit, one or two of my interpretations, but I think it really tells a whole story, and then you can make your assessments and judgments from there.
Okay. I'm going to open the floor to Clarence again, and I'm going to invite to speak. I might have made a change, so Chris might be able to hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
You got it working. There we go.
Excellent. No, I just had a quick clarification question. It seems kind of mundane and maybe an easy answer, but I think it's a little bit important. Regardless of whether Dan did or did not comply with the original rules of the first part of the contest, if he had done what he, how do I want to word this? If he had complied with the rules, do we think that there should have been a second stage? I don't care about the second stage at all at this point. It was a good find. Congratulations. I'm just curious that as the contest as a whole, if he had followed the rules and gotten the first stage, should there have been a second stage as there was in the change in contest format?
Well, good thought. But I think the change in the contest format was a result of him naively flashing his trophy around in multiple places where people could see almost all of the alien text, including, might I add, the 22-minute video that I cut in half for him and edited and told him to blur out, which was one of the best shots at the bottom of the trophy. So he shot himself in the foot repeatedly. But it was because of those showings that Jason had to modify the game. Otherwise, anybody could, you know, look at the pictures, break it down, get to the Bitcoin wallet. So, but about him not videoing, and we talked about this, and that's why he did the video as he did out in the woods and picked it up and held the trophy up and was like, really ham it up here. Which I thought was really funny, actually. And I thought he did a great job, by the way. I thought he did a great job with the video. I was like, dude, that was awesome. You come across awesome. Like, you're genuine, you're likable. Good story. Like, he did a really nice job in the video. But so it calls into question the validity of the game. Okay, so the rules state, you know, XYZ. He didn't do the rule, so maybe he you know, actually shouldn't be. Maybe he shouldn't have a leg up to get the bounty, right? I don't think that's true. I think that rule was dumb and is all about being peaceful with. I don't really think that rule has an impact. But if you're in a, you know, if you're in a court of law, right, and you're arguing, you might say, actually, he violated the rules of the game, so he may actually not be the one entitled to the trophy, which has a head start to claim a bounty. You can make that argument.
So there's a clarification here for Clarence. I already moved him out of the audience, but he put in the chat. He goes, just the clarification here is it's really about the essence of the question is, if Dan had followed the rules of the game, should he have been solely entitled to the prize regardless of further data leakage?
That's up to the game makers. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on that. I don't make the game, but I'll make the rules.
Okay.
I have no opinion. That's I only control what I can control, you know. So I don't know.
Moving on. Now that I have the audio working, I guess you're going to get to hear from Mel996 again, who has another question.
I remember you.
I've invited her to speak.
And I'm back. Oh man, I have so many questions, but one at a time. So you've had a particular style of speaking in chat over these past couple of weeks. I have noticed a pattern from the beginning and through now. It's changed a little bit, but let's focus on the night of the treasure finding. So you messaged, and you know where this is going. You messaged just about everyone, probably everyone that you interacted with over the course of a couple of weeks. Just give or take, enough people. You gave a smiley face or some other vague statements, and I also hear you put it in member chat and then go and delete it. So you have tried to explain this behavior in the past. Here's your chance now in front of everybody. What's with the smiley faces?
Oh God. The answer is I don't know. Pride, maybe, maybe trying to be cryptic but showing off. It was dumb. I think, I don't know if Bapoc said this maybe, but somebody said speculation breeds embellishment.
I'm not that
And
smart. I wouldn't have said that.
I wanted a little bit of mystery, hence the sign. Now look, it wasn't like I was going to go off in the world of ghosts myself. Like can't do that, right? But the mystery element and thinking about this as a movie was appealing to me. The smiley faces was just it's just a dumb way of being like, I know something that you don't know, and you can't pin me on it. Like, you can't say that. Like, nobody said, I know you did it. There's the evidence, right? But it was just, I don't know. It was just, I was emotional. I was in the moment. I was on my way to go collect this bounty, and I like wanted to tell people, like, but it was still kind of weird. I'm like, I don't know. And, it was a mistake on my part to subtly show off. And it was just, it was dumb.
How does that also then mesh with your watch the cameras tonight messages that you had sent a couple days prior?
Yeah, that's easy to answer. So that was on Saturday. And maybe on Friday, but that was when me and Dan were, still like a unit, if you will. I can't call us a team, but we're like a unit. And so, in that sense, it was totally fine because people assumed that I was alive with Dan, I never really confirmed it, or I obviously never confirmed the depth of our relationship, the relationship in the game. But so in those messages, it was clear conscience and easy because I was doing it on behalf of Dan, so it was like, team good guys. And I knew that I was team bad guy, going out on Monday. Like, I knew what was coming to me because of the perception and because of my lack of transparency in chat. Which, frankly, on one hand, like, I don't care. I don't care the perception. I don't mean that callously, but on the other hand, obviously, I do care about perception, and I care about how I impact others' feelings. So, but that's why there's like two, like, early on, like with Dan doing stuff, like, yeah, I could be a little bit more like team good guy, watch the camps tonight. And then, when I was out solo, it was just dumb pride. And, it was just a dumb mistake, really.
Mel, do you have any other questions? Right now, our raised hands are empty, so you.
Oh no!
Like.
Oh no, that's a bad idea. But then on the spot, well, so why did Dan trust you in particular? Now, he had other people. Obviously, there were people solving, and we all knew that we had sort of hashtag Team Dan people working specifically to hand him an answer such that he could have the bounty for himself and his family. So why do you think he trusted you? He placed that trust in you. Sounds like you've actually met his family, which is a pretty intimate thing, right? So why you?
Yeah, good question. I have to ask Dan that question. I know he said, well, I think a couple things, actually. Number one, I had to solve with weather, and I was a few people after first place, right? Whatever that number might be, third, fourth, fifth, somewhere in there. And so, I demonstrated success. I had a solve similar to his. I have, an interesting professional background. I think just in my approach with new people and so forth, like in my real life, it is just very, taking down people's guards just naturally. That's just, how I talk and who I am and so forth. And so I don't know, I think those elements combined. He did say early on, like a few messages in, was like, yeah, you're a college basketball coach. You know what a team is like, and something. He made something reference to my college coaching career. So, I don't know. I think he like we're all a product of our environment. And so, you know, maybe he just saw things in me that for whatever reason in his life just clicked to be like, oh, I like that guy, or I trust him. I need somebody in this game. Like, who can I talk to? And Dan was so shattered about the Fliss market thing. And he didn't like them at all. You know, he was like, John Fliss was like telling his wife to shush. And he seemed kind of like subtly abusive, and they were weird. And the other people there, they were like predatory. I don't know who to trust anymore. I got people email me every day saying they can do this for me, they can do that for me, they want to work with me, and they can do it. Like, I don't even know what's going on. And I just listen. I'm like, oh man, yeah, I can imagine what that's like, you know? About the family thing, Jason embellished that big time. Like, I didn't meet his family. There were two interactions. One on this drive up to Maine that Saturday night, and you know, I called him. I was like, "Hey, you know, what's your ETA?" Because we thought the gold was there for sure. And I was like, "Oh, I'll ride with you if you want, and like I'll vlog it the whole time for you. You know, this would be super cool. We'll vlog it. We'll interview you. We'll get you video up to the gold. It'll be super cool." I was like, "Or I can follow you up there. You know, meet you up there, whatever." And on that phone call, you know, he was like, "Oh yeah, Chris, by the way, I'm your speaker. My wife Leonora is here." And I just made some joke. I was like, "Oh, hey, Leonora." I was like, "Hey, by the way, if you need a what did I say? If you need a support club for wives of Project Skydrop husbands, like my wife would gladly join you." And I thought that was kind of funny, and I didn't hear a single thing from her. And then when they're in Maine, at the post office in Lebanon, Maine, at 9:30 at night, it was simply literally just Dan opened the back door to say something to them, and like I was just did that kind of thing, you know. And I met his son's name is Diego, and I made like, "Oh, hey Diego, my name's Chris." So that was the meeting of the family, you know. That was to that extent.
All right, moving on. Dylan2112. I'm going to invite you to speak. And wait for him to join. Dylan, you might have to click a button to accept the invite to speak. All right, so I'm going to wait. We're going to come back to Dylan. Jeremy, I'm going to invite you to speak. And Jeremy, you are muted, but you are on.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to ask my question. Chris, I'm interested in your actual solve and how you came about it. Can you explain a little bit about the base 3 aspect of it and how that works?
So yes and no. So I'll share my. Can you all you can all see me, right? Is that right?
Yeah, they can see you, Chris. So when
Okay.
you share your
So
screen, it'll show.
I'll share my screen in just a second. So yes and no, and thanks for asking that question. Look, I think one of the reasons why I was successful in this game is because I know that I'm not smart enough to know everything and be a deep subject matter expert in everything. So I know that I need to go recruit and build and find people who have specialties that I don't have. Could I learn how to decode something through videos? Maybe, right? But like, I'm not going to scratch the surface as somebody whose career is that. Could I go learn GIS software? I don't know. Maybe, right? But it's not smart to play a game so multifaceted like this, and you try to be the person that does everything. So in my phase 1 solve, I had this guy Josh Bourget from Canada, right? Brilliant guy. He is a Mensa member and dropped out because it was just kind of boring. He's an award-winning cartographer. He's a GIS expert and a business analyst who can process loads of data and shrink it down to manageable chunks. He was my go-to guy. He was my number one freaking partner. Amazing. I had him on my team. I had a meteorologist on my team. Not him. I had a forester, arborist, wildlife biologist. I had 2 drone operators on my team. I had a police sergeant. I had 17 hikers. The police sergeant was going to mobilize and conduct searches with the 17 hikers. I reached out to 12 astrophysicists to see if we could measure shadows in the trophy to see along that. I reached out to 30 ham radio operators around various clubs in Western Mass and New England to understand, can we read signals from the reconics? I reached out to 3 pilots when planes were flying, to see if we could strike a deal and figure something out. So my point is that I'm not experts in these spaces, but I know who to find the experts and ask the right questions. So about the solve in phase 2, frankly, my value is the strategic leadership of a team, driving to results, getting the right minds in, asking the right questions, keeping people on.
Yeah. Okay. I see where this is going. So is it fair to say that you didn't solve it?
Me personally, no.
Okay. So can you tell me when it was solved?
Absolutely. So my team that I hired solved plain text middle of the night, Friday, Saturday early morning. We were focused on, they also confirmed the alien text, sometime on Saturday, just to make sure that we had those words correct. And then we solved the base 3 that came out Monday at around like 5:45 p.m. when they solved the base 3.
So someone else solved base 3 at 5 o'clock when this other team sent base 3 to Dan at 7 o'clock, and you just went out there in the woods in the middle of the night and found it. That's what you want us to believe?
Wait, can you say that again?
All right, so you want us to believe that your team solved it 2 hours before Dan received this base 3 solve from someone else, and then you just ran out in the woods and got it, that you didn't get this from Dan. That's what you want us to believe.
I'm not understanding the question, so let me just.
All right, so really, let me try to explain it a different way. All right, so some of us believe that you didn't solve shit, that all you did was go out and steal Dan's gold, right? And that most of us believe, I would say most of us believe, that you actually got the solve from Dan and you stole his gold. So what you're wanting us to believe is that you got the solve from some other guy 2 hours earlier than Dan got the solve from some other team.
Yeah,
that's what you're wanting us to believe.
Do you want me to pull up the email right now and I can screen share and show you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I want you to have a chance to clear the air here.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me a second. In my video that we'll hopefully upload by tomorrow, I have timestamp communication of the entire day of Monday, including exactly your question. So let me go back to Monday. I'm telling you guys, and let me just be very clear. Every piece of my communication that is now in the public domain, I know that it could be analyzed and evaluated and thrown back at me. So, lying or manipulating information would be detrimental to me in many, many ways, potentially. So I have all the motivation in the world to be transparent and honest. But give me a second to find it. It might have been on my Yahoo. Oh, no, it worked. Second. So if there's another question in the meantime, go for it. I don't know what you want to do.
You want some time to answer that question, or you want to move on to the next question? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I'm just going to find the email with the timestamp so I can show you. Might take me a sec.
I tell you what we can do. Move on to another question. If you want to dig that up as other stuff is happening. And Jeremy, if you want, we can save that a little bit till the end. But
yeah, I'll keep looking and I'll multitask.
Okay. All right. So I did see another hand raised.
Sorry, here we go. Actually, I just found it. So 1 second here. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to pull up a couple of different emails here. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Share. screen 2. Is that screen 2? It's screen 1. All right, can y'all see this?
Yes.
Okay, see this? All right, so there's my email, Bill, one of my code guys. Monday, 5:34. Like I said, here's a brief evidence overview. Today's report will be ready for me. Send it shortly. Here's the basic. I don't shoot. So I don't want to, okay, but there's that. And then here's my question right back, because I was actually out with my kids decorating the yard for Halloween. I see it's in the park. What's the Jason's house? I'll call you soon. Okay, it's that. And then boom, 5:56. Documents launched ready. We head down South Park with the whole base 3. Share in 1 minute. Okay, and here it is. Done enough. Boom. There's that. Okay, and then here we're talking about how close it is to Jason's house. Boom. There's that. Now I'm freaking giving you guys all the clues that I said I wasn't going to do, but and then here is the report. I copied it and I blurred out some of the stuff here to not give stuff away, but this is the report that was sent to me at 5:46 or something like that. Okay, with the GPS coordinates and later did the coins too. Does that convince you, or did I doctor all this and make it up?
And he did drop from the chat. So wait, I'm gonna quickly add you in, Jeremy. Well, because we were moving on. So there you go.
Oh my God,
Jeremy, you're back on.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I kind of dropped out, so I can't actually watch the screen, so I can't see this stuff. I have to assume that you didn't doctor it, and that's all fine. But you are in here telling these fine folks that you solved something 2 hours before Dan did. Dan got the base 3. Dan got the coordinates. Dan could have gone out there and gotten it. I'd like you to explain a little bit how you got this information. Like again, I wasn't able to watch the stream, so I don't know the validity of it. But you are at least saying that you got this information 2 hours before Dan did. At what point did you go out in the woods and screw Dan over? Like, did you wait the 2 hours until Dan had it, or did you just say, "Hey, I've got what I need. Fuck Dan. I'm heading out to the woods"?
I had company over, my family and dinner with company, and I had a lot to think about what the next steps were, and what to do, and again, because I didn't have any formal contractual obligations and agreements, and we attempted to negotiate one, and that did not happen.
So let me stop you right there. So like you have been talking in the general chat. I'm not in the members chat. I didn't pay into this bullshit. But you've been talking in the general chat about Team Dan ever since he found the little trophy and all that stuff. You've been on Team Dan's side to everybody since that time, right? And you somehow convinced him to give you his secret words. Which are proprietary information. That's like his information. That's unique to him. That is his secret words. It's like having his password or his pen or something like that. So you got the solve from your guy at 5 o'clock. Dan gets the solve from us at 7 o'clock. And you think, hey, I'm going to run out in the woods and I'm going to take his gold. Even though he was nice enough to give me his secret phrase. He was nice enough to give me all this information. He was nice enough to do this, that, and everything. And then you actually come in here to everybody in here, and you're trying to justify this as something that is legitimate, something that is fine, that is something within the rules, that it's not your fault, it's the treasure hunt creators, that you did no morally reprehensible thing yourself. I would really like to know how this is not morally reprehensible. And then that is actually my final question, because that is really what it comes down to. How is this not something that you just feel completely shitty over as everybody else does? I'll yield the floor to you.
Well, sorry, what was the last part?
I just moved him to the audience. He was just like, he's looking forward to the answer, I think is what he said.
Okay, gotcha. I'm really glad to, not glad. it's interesting that the argument hinges upon morals and not anything, you know, about breaking rules and so forth. Look, it is messy. Period. And that's why Dan and I are in negotiations, you know, for fair compensation. You know, that's all I have to say.
All right, so I think I have an easy question from Dylan, who I tried to get in here earlier. He wants to know what you're going to do with the bounty.
I'm going to fairly compensate the core team members who contributed. And then once that's taken care of, it's, you know, I have a family, you know, have life, and I'm not going out and buy a new car or anything like that. I mean, I don't know. There's some savings. I have kids and need college funds. I mean, you know.
We have a few more hands in the request to speak. I'm going to invite Mel, who's first in list.
Oh no. Well, luckily you won't be hearing from me, so I will be reading Fire Gypsy's question and comment in chat. And I have promised to read it, all of it verbatim. So I am no Samuel L. Jackson, but I will try my best. So
This will be good.
she writes, and I had to post this or paste this into a text document just so I could see it all. She writes, I'm not going on audio. I'm so mad. I can't. I'll get banned. My question is, why do you think you deserved the bounty you said you were trying to get for him to so many people? People were giving you information under the guise that you were helping Dan specifically. People who had spent weeks working on the solve. Additionally, another team solved base 3 completely, and that's what led Dan to the coordinates. Did Dan confide in you with the base 3 solve, which led you to hauling ass to grab his bounty after you figured it out independently? There's more. At what point did you decide you deserved someone else's money simply because you were helping them? Why do you think you and your team that didn't give him the final info deserved 60% of someone else's money simply because you spent less time than them working on it? At what point do you realize that your greed and narcissism is what led you to stealing someone else's money? See, I shouldn't be allowed to ask questions. This fucking guy is a piece of shit. So there you go. Not my words. Fire Gypsy represent.
Yeah. No. Thanks for thanks for the transcript. Okay, let me go a couple pieces here. No, never got the base 3 from Dan. So didn't steal that from Dan at all. No. Why did we propose 60%? Because that was where the negotiation started, and we're obviously happy to hear a response, which we never did. And that's typically how negotiations go, back and forth. And that didn't happen. That's fine. What was the first question about getting information?
Hang on. First question was scrolling up. Why do you think you deserve the bounty? You said you were trying to get for him to so many people. People were giving you information under the guise. People who spent weeks working on it.
Well, it's interesting. I tried to think of any information that was received that was, you know, ultimately beneficial to solve. I can't think of that. Look, you please tell me in the rules whose ownership is the bounty. Somebody point to the rule, you know, that says exclusively only Dan may have this bounty. Somebody show me that. You know, look, if you you know, feel that this is a morally reprehensible act, that the bounty would 100% belong to Dan regardless, well, then I guess the publish should be posted publicly. All of Jason's comments should be ignored. The game should have been set up much differently, and there should have been strict rules around that, so on and so forth. Look, I've said this before, and let me just be clear too, right? You know, there's no TV cameras here, but this is a contest and a competition. And as the Epoch knows, in the game of Survivor, You know, it's sort of like, hey, as long as you stay within the rules and don't break the law, a winner is a winner. You know, and this was an opportunity. This was a situation where it was the first one, you know, to the trophy, and that was the rules of the game. And particularly because we attempted to come to a formal arrangement, and that wasn't able to happen. You know, there was no legal obligation, right? Now, if you want to judge morally, I totally get that, and that's your prerogative. And you know, I can't say that that you're valid in that. And that's what I have to say.
The next part of that summarizes: did somebody else on your team get the base 3 solved from someone else?
No.
And then the second, I guess, third part is: at what point did you decide you deserved someone else's money simply because you were helping?
So who says it's someone else's money?
This is all from Fire Gyps. Oh, sorry, this is all from Fire Gyps.
Yeah, but no, again, yes. Who says it's Dan's money? Jason has certainly never said that. The maker of this game, of this contest, we're living in the world of Project Skydrop. Okay, this isn't me dropping $20 on the ground and Vapoc picking it up and walking away with it. That's not what this is. This is a universe of a game that has its own rules, its own processes, its own leadership, its own players. Somebody tell me where it says that bounty was exclusively Dan's. And you can't do that. And we can pull up the interview with Jason, who says, Dan, you might get that stolen out from under you. And what does Dan say at the end? Man, that'd be terrible. But you know what? If that happens, I get this cool trophy. It's a fun experience. That's okay. So again, if that is your point, Fire Gypsy, then you need to be going over to Jason and saying, why the heck did you structure this game in a way that other players could take Dan's bounty? Then you take that.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, I'd like to chime in and call you on your bullshit, because this is straight up bullshit. Okay. So the contest rules, the frequently asked questions, did say that the bounty goes to the winner. It is very clear that is Dan's money. But more to the point, you know it's Dan's money because you took his secret phrase. The secret phrase was part of the solve. That is literally Dan's property. And you conned him out of it, and you used Dan's property in order to take Dan's money. There is no way you can say that it's not Dan's money. You know it's Dan's money because those were Dan's secret words. That was part of the puzzle, and you knew that, and you took it anyway. Don't come in here and try to justify your actions as if they were fine because it's some game, like it's some puzzle or something like that. You literally took someone else's property and used it to steal somebody else's property. It is $90,000 worth of property. You just can't do that. It's fine that you come in here. What is there, like 100 people in here? It's fine that you come in here and try to make us think that you did something fine, a bunch of treasure hunters, whatever. But you're not going to win the court case. The court case is absolutely, you took Dan's secret phrase, basically a password, and you used it against his wishes. You used it without his authorization. You used it without you basically used it to screw him over. And that is absolutely Dan's property. Those secret phrase, that is absolutely his. It's the same as me using your password to take your PIN number to drain your ATM. You can't say that it's not Dan's property. You know it's Dan's property. Don't come in here and try to fucking gaslight us about this shit.
Right,
sorry, I had to reply to that because I can't listen to it. It's complete bullshit.
All right, thank you, Jeremy.
Is that your professional legal opinion?
Yeah, I moved them into the audience.
That's my question. Is that your professional legal opinion? That's okay.
Let's see, wow, hands, so many hands. I'm gonna make sure I'm respecting Gypsy's list here. Did I get everything? I'm scrolling up. What makes you okay? Why do you think your team that didn't give him final? Okay, talking about the split. Why do you think you and your team that didn't give him the final info deserve 60% of someone else's money? because you spent less time on it than them.
I don't understand that last part of the question, but again, that was our open negotiation, an attempt to negotiate, and presented quantification to Dan of sort of what this team consisted of, represented, what valued, and that was sort of what we put out there. And he had all the right and opportunity in the world, to come back and counter or talk through things, or say, hey, no thanks. I want to separate, and here's the terms of separation, or whatever. Ball's in his court. So, I guess the answer is simply, those are the terms of the initial negotiation, and he certainly could have come back and asked for something else. Except, that didn't happen, and it continued to be just two people operating independently. So that's what happened.
And then the last fiery part of this from Fire Gypsy is, at what point do you realize that your greed and narcissism is what led you to stealing someone else's money?
Next question.
Next question. We're going to go to Stoke Commander. I'm inviting you to speak.
All right, I'm back again. CJ, I've actually stuck up for you in the comments a few times, just saying that trolling you got the best out of you a few different times. I feel like the tribal council and the jury right now on the show Survivor, I do want to applaud you for your resourcefulness. I thought that was excellent. You definitely outplayed everybody. Back to Jeremy's point, I mean, whether it was morally right or wrong, you definitely outplayed. I want to go back to what you said at the beginning, that you would bet 1 gold coin on somebody finding those coordinates, and who is that going to go to? And be a man of your word. Who is it going to go to?
Let me clarify, that was said in jest and not seriously.
Oh, okay. I figured as much.
Yeah, it's all right. That was a bad joke, but no. So let me clarify, and I guess go on the record that no, that is not a serious offer. But I do find it highly likely that somebody will likely get to that spot independent of any other information other than what they have with the base 3 cipher and the decryption of the text on the trophy.
One question from the audience or in the text real quick. Griglock is asking, what is your relationship with Dan outside of this contest?
None. Well, yeah, no. I mean, we met from the contest, and I mean, that's about it.
Okay.
mean,
Clearance. Inviting you to speak.
Thank you. Real quickly, just as a general PSA, a lot of people are using vitriol language and pointed language. I think we actually get better answers in general, and we get more to what we want to know if we keep basically non-binary language and just ask our questions. It makes things faster and speeds things up. I wanted to ask you this. So recently you mentioned a Hollywood ending. Now, I'm curious, based in lieu of what we've had in a conversation tonight, what exactly about this ending is Hollywood-esque?
Yeah, well, no, that's like everybody should walk away happy, and firmly believe that. And as I said, Dan and I are trying to figure it out, and yeah, that's all I'll say on that. So no, I'm not saying that this is like, oh, this is a Hollywood ending. I'd like to see everybody come to a place of mutual agreement, and I think that would be a good ending.
So at what point were we in the solve when you assessed that it might be a Hollywood ending? Was this I don't know at what point in your relationship with the solve and with Dan and with the conversations going on with people that it appeared to maybe turn out that way? Like, was there some sort of change in the last few hours of the game that morphed it from a potential Hollywood ending to something less than that, as you've just mentioned?
Well, there were various. I'm just not sure how to answer that question. You know, I in communication with Dan, we had talked about various solutions that were that could potentially be a happy ending, and again, happy to work and negotiate to make everything kosher and make all sides happy and fairly valued for the work and the value that they brought to the team. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know how to answer that question very well. And there's, I'll just leave it at that.
All right, moving on to Bavetta. I apologize if I messed that up. And you might be on mute.
Oh, yep, got it. Hey, you said that you were worried about Dan fairly compensating you and that's why you took it. So looking at how things ended up, where Dan got the coordinates without your help, through the help of other people, what is your fair compensation? What value can you justify you provided Dan if he didn't need your help?
That first question again. Sorry, can you just repeat the very first part?
Yeah, you said that you were worried about Dan fairly compensating you and that's why you took it. And looking at how things ended up, where Dan got the coordinates without you, through the help of other people, what's your fair compensation based on the value that you provided Dan? He had the coordinates without you. It seems like your value here is 0.
Yeah, no, that first point is wrong because my point is the point I made was I didn't learn until the next day in Jason's public comment that Dan had emailed Jason, at 11 p.m. indicating that he had figured some stuff out, and so I was saying hypothetically, right? What would have happened, if Dan had achieved the bounty and so forth, and I was hypothetically stating, what would I have been compensated for my value? So it wasn't an issue of causation of I didn't, so that I think you sort of mixed up that very first part. And the second part, what was my value? I don't know. No comment on that. That's done. No comment.
All right, I'm going to jump to Cypher.
I keep listening.
Oh yeah. Actually, we're going to go to BBLR on the top of the list. BBLR, I've invited you to speak.
All right, thanks.
Hear you. I think he has his AirPods in, but
Okay, cool. I'll just go. I can repeat if needed. That's fine. But this is kind of in the context, given that you claimed the bounty anonymously, like left a little anon card with the smiley face on it, and weren't overtly stating that you got the bounty, in chat at least for the first couple of days. But given that, have you discussed the way that you obtained the bounty with your teammates? What do they think about it? Is this something you'd be proud to tell people about in the future when assembling more teams for other games?
So two thoughts there. It makes logical sense that if you are claiming a lottery ticket, winning a lottery, claiming a large prize, that you might want your identification hidden for a period of time until you can get your affairs in order, right, and kind of get things set. So that's one element, and that was the goal, and and the goal was also then to figure out, my obligations to the team I have contracts with, and figure out fair value compensation for other team members and their contributions. So the sign was certainly an element of drama and mystery, if you will. So I think sort of that was achieved. It gave people something to talk about. But yeah, no, I think the practical, pragmatic reason and answer is simply because, look, okay, maybe it's a fun idea to show your face everywhere, but then guess what? Within an hour, people know that you've got this precious metal on you, and you don't know who's out and about or at your house the next day and so forth. So it makes logical sense, right, to kind of get your stuff in order before you make any type of announcement.
Okay, I'm going to go to Cypher. I'm going to invite you to speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure.
Hi, CJ. Quick question. A question. You said you found out about Jason's email the day after when we all did. About how Dan emailed him. You showed emails and said that your guy solved it at 5:45 Monday. Why did you go out and take it like without Dan in the middle of the night if you guys were still teammates at that point? Because you said you heard about the email the day after and were like, oh, he's gonna cut us out, but like you took it before then.
No. My point, and somebody had the same. So maybe I didn't speak correctly on this. I didn't say he would cut us out. I just questioned what if, right? Because so to counter your question, right? Dan and I were not teammates, and I don't think he behaved in a fashion that was a teammate, and conversely, same with me. We had no agreements, implicit or explicit, to be a teammate. We obviously had nothing signed. We had put forth a negotiation to do that. That failed. And so, look, anybody, so let me ask you this question. If anybody in the world figured out, the puzzle, should they have called Dan? Hey, I'm in Connecticut. I've been working on this behind the scenes tonight in the Discord. Just want to let you know, Dan, I solved it. I'm going to give you the answers because it's rightfully yours. I'm not going to go do that. So, yeah.
Well, maybe because what I was trying to say is like, so just so I understand right, so you weren't teammates like Monday. You weren't teammates because I thought you were teammates.
We were we were not teammates.
Oh, okay.
And Monday, and then morning, when I said to Dan, hey, to move forward, let's talk about formalizing. Okay, that was an attempt to get a contract on the table so that we would be explicitly connected and have fair expectations and compensation outlined, etc. And that negotiation failed. So,
okay. And my last question, you said like in Discord you'd been saying like Team Dan and stuff. Like, were you guys ever a teammates at like at any point?
I think that was a tag on the video, if I remember correctly, and I'm pretty sure that was the only time that tag or phrase was ever used.
Yeah, it was on the video.
Yeah, I thought so because I remember seeing it. But so, and that was Dan asking me to post that for him.
Oh, okay. So you never were teammates at all.
Look, we were parallel competitors. I mean, we were parallel competitors. We had no implicit agreements or explicit agreements. He very well could have found the bounty and kept it all himself. And I could have made arguments about, hey, I deserve some of that, and vice versa. But those are circumstantial. And so
when he was giving you, when he was giving you those words, right? Like, because you said he told Bill, was that about those, like, did he? If you were competitors, why did he like come to you?
I stand.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for talking to me, CJ.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Look, let me say something, guys. You know, I get it. This is gray. You know, it's a gray area, and you know, I think operating under the principles of were laws broken? Okay, no. I think maybe one person I heard would say that. Were laws broken? No. Okay, and I know this for a fact. Okay, what legal obligations need to be upheld? Okay, I am attempting to meet those obligations. All right. Now, you don't like the way I played the game? I get it. Okay. I'm not mad that people are hating on me. Okay. I didn't think I was going to come in here and be all rosy. I didn't think I was going to come in here and change people's minds. Okay. I get it. And if I'm a villain of the story, okay, you know, so be it, you know. And I think other people would go, gosh, you know, I might do the same thing if I had an opportunity and to break no rules and break no laws. And if that meant that, you know, hey, so look, I just want to make a point that I respect all opinions, you know, and I hear that, and I'm not saying anybody's wrong if you're hating on me. I'm really not. You know, it is what it is.
All right, so I see. I realize we're at about 11 o'clock here. I see about 5 more hands up. There's a lot of questions in the chat. I think we're gonna just try to get through this, and then Chris, you let me know if you want to keep going or we'll go. So, Vernon Hardest, I said that you were next, so inviting you to speak. And you might be on mute.
Sorry, I had to change my my preferences. So, Chris, I'm glad that you brought up that this is a gray area, because I think this is one of the kinds of gray areas that courts end up with contract law end up examining. So I'm just going to read a question that I had written earlier in the chat. I'm pretty sure contract law, when cases are brought before the court, one thing, regardless of whether there's written agreement that's considered, is action. In other words, what actions were taken between the two parties that would signify a verbal agreement. With Dan sharing his personal information with you, intent is pretty clear. And it's that sort of intent that is also an indication of a cooperative agreement between two parties. Now, you know, the previous person I think asked, or maybe it was one or two prior, asked about why would Dan share with you if you weren't ever on the same team, if you weren't ever working and it didn't have some cooperative relationship to get towards the end. And by the way, you've already stated earlier in this talk tonight that you were working to have a cooperative goal to help Dan get the treasure or the bounty. So you know, Dan, of course, likely did not give you his personal information with the intent to give you the opportunity to take the gold for yourself. So given that cooperative relationship is pretty well established, and cooperative relationships are considered in these kinds of examinations legally, whether there's a contract or not, how do you justify working counter to that cooperative relationship? That's, I think, pretty clear to every single person who's in this group tonight, I would imagine. That's my question.
You broke up a little bit at the end there, but I think you asked me to characterize the relationship more or less. And like I think you know, I've spoken on that a little bit. And you know, I guess I turn that question around to say, you know, if you're talking to anybody in chat, and does that indicate a cooperative relationship or a verbal agreement to be a team? You know, I don't know. You know, so that's no comment.
Okay, moving on to Blaze, inviting you to speak.
Hello, hello.
Hey, sorry, Blaze. Just hold on 1 second, Duke. And can I just follow up? And nobody's. Let me just follow up by saying nobody here is trying to not fairly compensate. And again, I am working through that, and I would love to come to agreement with Dan, and I hope that we can get there, and I'm optimistic that we could get there, and to make everybody happy and achieve the fair value that they participated in, and so there's that element that that process is happening, right?
All right, I have 4 questions in order to make this as quick as possible. The first 3 are going to be very simple, yes or no, 1-word answers, and the 4th one we can dive into with kind of a longer answer. You stated you wouldn't talk about the park or the forest. Will you at least give us if it was New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, or Maine?
No.
Okay. How many people in your mind do you feel are entitled to some form of compensation? Not who, just how many people?
4 people.
Okay. Are you willing to talk about what the split is with Bill, the infamous codebreaker?
No.
And the open-ended question, which I hope you will dive into. How did you acquire Dan's 4 words? What was promised to Dan, if any, in order for him to give up his words? Please explain the final course of events that allowed you to pinpoint the bounty location with the 4 secret words.
As I said earlier, Dan volunteered his 4 words in an effort to simple as that. Dan volunteered his 4 words. I was very crystal clear. We're not going to ask for them at all. That is not what we're looking for. That is not what we need. And period. So Dan had volunteered his words and put them put them out there.
Inviting, excuse me, inviting just me to speak. And you might be muted in Discord. Yeah, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right, perfect. Sorry about that. Hey, so I've been kind of like quiet during most of the hunt, and then I think the last few days I've chirped up a little bit more. I appreciate the time here, appreciate the transparency and the conversation. Cleared some things up and probably muddied some other things. But real quick here, you've mentioned a couple times about, and maybe I missed this, but asking people the legal opinion and things of that nature. Do you have legal representation, and are you being advised legally what you're doing, what you're saying here, etc.?
No comment.
Okay. And I'll just, for your own benefit, because I personally am trying to, I'm probably like an oddball here. I try to give people free legal advice when I see mistakes being made. But some of those gold coins that you posted in your video, if those are indeed the gold coins, there's gold bars with serial numbers on those, which specifically identifies that bar of gold. And I know the lost treasure, lost property laws of all the states in Northeast United States. So, you may want to not broadcast the serial numbers that are on those gold bars, because anybody now can basically claim that they lost those as well, and it was you that found them, but it's their property. So just keep that in mind, and that's it.
Right. What was your name again, or your Discord name?
Sorry, that was just me.
Just me. Thanks, man. Yeah.
There was a question. I'm going to get to the next hand here, but there was a quick question in chat that caught my attention. So obviously there was a intention for subtlety and being anonymous when you grab the jar, laying the anon card on the ground. What was it that caused you to retire that persona of anonymous? And the mask, was it just for show? Why come forward now and deal with this?
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's really not much difference of if somebody's going to claim anonymously their lottery winnings. Okay, as I said, it's important to get affairs in order. Purchase. First thing in the morning. Be purchasing the appropriate space in the bank. To store materials and sort of get your affairs in order. So and to once those things are set and you kind of understand where you're at. And then to kind of lay some speculation to rest, and I think there was a lot of hate thrown my way, rightly justified or not. But it was sort of time, to, had conversations with the right people. Things are in motion in certain manners. And so it was time to, put speculation to rest and, speak the facts here. I'm going to keep listening. I'll be right back, but I can still hear you. Go ahead.
All right, we're going to move on to Mossman, inviting you to speak. He says that he can hear you. We'll be right back.
Hi, hello. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you. I'm going to assume.
So the question that I had is, I was kind of following this for a long time, and in the hashtag Team Dan and everything else, it doesn't. I mean, yes, it's about the gold at the end of the day, but what it really seems like is it's kind of more about the attention on this. And was the real reason for going and grabbing the gold not just as much the gold, but that Dan wouldn't steal the limelight from you? Because I mean, even afterwards, I mean, we've seen a lot of attention grabbing things between the ski mask and the cryptic posts that you made afterwards. So I mean, I guess that's my question: is it more about the attention or is it more about the gold?
I'd argue that if it was about the attention, then I would have put my face up against the camera, to do something. So that's what I have to say.
All right.
And again, motivation was I think to win a competition, and that was motivation.
Going to skip to Chris P, who is somebody who hasn't asked a question yet.
I know that name.
Oh, he knows that name.
Yes. Good evening. And people covered a lot of subjects here. I guess my question would be: you said you have children, and you were concerned about them with some of the stuff that was said over the last number of days. My question would be: if this happened to one of your children, how do you think you would respond to that? If they were in a very similar situation, say as Dan was, how would you respond and maybe protect them or guide them or direct them?
Yeah. I think, let's see. I think you have to zoom out a little bit too. This, although we're participating in this game from our computers and from our homes and getting out in the world and so forth, this is a universe of a game. And conversely, a business universe, could be categorized that way in the real world. And so, I think the lessons, right, would be, hey, if you're going to, particularly if there is a prize, a competition with an award, and there's competitors, then you have to make sure that you are protecting your best interests. And it's really as simple as that. Again, you know, Dan was presented with opportunities for NDAs and contractual agreements to, you know, form a concrete and equitable partnership. And you know, I think it was a miss not to do that. And certainly on my side, right, like that was an important element of my strategy and working with people, because I wanted it to be official language and you know, security on both sides in the course of events that would play out if we were successful. So, you know, I think that's the takeaway, right? Is if you're in a competitive environment in a game or a contest with a prize, to just, you know, really be smart about your decisions and, you know, make sure you're protecting your best interests.
Right, moving on to Stoke Commander again.
When will we find out where it was hidden?
Good question. I'd imagine whenever Jason reveals it, or when the at least several people who are searching in areas based upon, you know, the data they have find it.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, thanks.
To Bavetta.
I know that name too.
Hey, so first off, when Dan gave you the 4 words, he presumably thought it would be useful in your effort to help him solve it, right?
I mean, I can't imagine.
Because you earlier you said, "Here's my promise to you." This is what you said. You said to Dan, "Here's my promise to you. We'll try to help you do. We'll try to help you with whatever we can, with whatever you want to give us." Right, and this was one of those things.
Not with whatever. When he asked,
That's what you said earlier.
you know, when he asked to speak with Bill for assistance, I said
this was when you were meeting him at first, and you said you thought your help
parameters.
You thought your help would be worth
of the call
maybe
would be
a
that we
few
will not ask for any
$1,000s.
information. And if you want to share, that's your prerogative, your decision. But we are not asking for information.
Well, yeah, with whatever he wants to give you,
muted him.
that you
He
would
has
help
some
however
feedback
you
coming in
can.
when you take Bavetta, you done?
No. Am I still here?
You get one more question and I gotta move
on. I just wanted to show that there was an exchange of value given for a promise. And the promise you said was, "Here's my promise to you. We'll try to help you with whatever we can, with whatever you want to give us." And those 4 words you said expedited the process, right? And you said that the thousands of people in the Discord will demonstrate that it's solvable without those, right? Well, it's been a day where everything but those 4 words has been out and no one has gone to the location. So those 4 words you said expedited the process, but it's been a day. If Dan had a day, he would have the gold, right? So what is the value of these 4 words?
What is
in
the
an all
value?
or nothing hunt?
Yeah. No, so, I mean, what is the value of solving the puzzle? I don't know the answer. I mean, right? Like, so what? Like, I turn that around. How do you quantify the value of solving the puzzle? Is, you know, are all 4 members entitled to the same compensation? Right? I think an argument can be made that perhaps. So look, again, I'm not saying that there wasn't value in that, and I'm recognizing the value in that. So, I mean,
Okay, are you in mid thought, Chris?
no. Sorry, I don't mean to be. I'm happy to continue here for a little longer. It's just it's getting late. I'm tired, so I'm just thinking a little slow. But
Okay, no, that's fine.
we're good. Continue.
Okay, going to BBLR. Blur.
Yeah, I appreciate that you've given me the mic a few times tonight, so thanks, guys. But yeah, I'm just curious. So you said that you gave Dan a couple offers or a couple of chances to come to an agreement, but was he aware that you had the ability to go out and take the bounty when he turned down your last offer, so to speak?
I'm gonna answer that, Dan. I don't know who else he could have been talking to or working with. So I don't know.
Moving to Malian.
I just can't stay away. I do have a couple of questions, but we'll see if we have time. So for one, more importantly, what communications happened between you and Dan in the first 24 hours after the bounty retrieval? And also, what other conversations have happened or communications have happened between you and Jason in that first 24 hours and perhaps first 48 hours after bounty retrieval?
Hard to sort of pin down timelines. I think everything has been a blur for a few weeks, as I know has been many people. The next day, the communication with Dan was such like, "Hey, let me get back to you. Things are crazy. Let me sell something here and let me circle back to you." With Jason, that I don't know if it's 24 hours or whatnot, but we had discussions yesterday, day before yesterday, kind of reviewing what was happening and so forth. So that answers the question, hopefully.
So the guy who was at the center of all of this with the trophy, you are saying that you couldn't get back to him in the immediate aftermath of the bounty find because you had too much going on?
No. I'm saying that we had connected that Tuesday. Yeah, we had connected Tuesday, and I said, "Hey, this, let me get back to you. Just a lot going on right now. Something to that effect."
Okay, I'm sorry, I must have misunderstood.
Yeah, I can't recall if we spoke that day, but we had definitely texted.
Okay. It's certainly a rather dry way to communicate after such an incident, but I understand. So I guess that was a little confusing. I think chat's confused a little bit by that response because it sounded like you hadn't talked and then you had. But I'll just sneak in the second question here before Vipok kicks me, which is more of a general question around how do you view your role as a team builder? Because you've been quite honest about you don't know how to solve these puzzles, and you're just the guy bringing people together. So how do you decide what value is? How do you decide what your split is if you're bringing in the people who will do the real work, which you've indicated as something is very important, is very deserving of a bounty, unlike Dan and maybe his less work towards the bounty. So how do you view your contribution towards the 100% of the bounty versus Bill's and whomever else was working on the project? Where do you decide who gets what? And does it happen at the contract point or does it happen after retrieval?
I think nobody decides in a negotiation, right? Both sides talk back and forth and find a mutually beneficial agreement. I think I've been open to that, certainly, and and been open to make it fair and equitable across the board. So, I guess I just have to answer your question, right, by saying, I would love it's very productive in conversation to hear the other side's thoughts and opinions, and where they place value, right, and then converse from there and see if you can find a mutually beneficial agreement.
All right, I'm gonna move on, Mel. Thank you. I'm gonna take a quick couple questions from the chat audience here. It looks like there's a few that have popped up here. One from Magnum Cox. Great name, I guess. Question is it possible for someone to solve without Dan's secret words? And what's the proof of that?
Great question. Yes. And the proof is that people are actively narrowing in on areas. I mean, perhaps it is obviously slowing down now. And again, there's, I reviewed it earlier in this call, there is what somebody described as a flaw in the puzzle where the main and most important coordinates can be found without secret words. And from there, it's a process of deduction and elimination to come up with a few core key areas. And then you can process other data analytics and various GIS analyses and software on top of that. And you can further narrow search area. Now you may need, obviously that skill set to do. But the reality is that this is not an exclusive puzzle solvable by only one manner with a set of words. It was publicly a puzzle that was publicly provided to the public with the idea that go ahead and try it if you want. We think only one person could do it. We're not sure. But as we're seeing, and as I think we will see, that is not the case.
Okay. Taking another question from the chat. This one's a little more lighthearted, maybe just to kind of reset the mood here. So it's very clear that you want us to know that you're a musician, given your background. Can you share the band name that you are part of, if you're in one?
But I'm not part of a band name, but my boys play music, and they call themselves the Raging Snakes.
I'm sorry, did you say the Raging Snakes?
The Raging Snakes. Don't know where it came from. And their first song is called Heart Crusher. They're 10 and 8. I don't know what they know about being their hearts being crushed, but that's
So okay. Going on to the next one. Vernon Hartist. You have the stage. I think he has the stage. Nope, he seems to left. I don't invite to speak. Let's try it again. All right, moving on. We're going to go to Mason Dixon. You are invited to speak, and you're on mute.
Sorry about that. So this conversation was going to be preceded with a video that you were uploading to YouTube, and it was stated that you had uploaded it and it was having a difficulty uploading. Are you going to upload that video? And if not, why not?
Yeah, good question. I expect to. I don't see why I wouldn't. Excuse me. I did work on it a long time today, and the reason being is because I wanted to make sure in chronological order I had my data correct, with dates, time, and so forth, right? And to make sure that all information was accurate. So that took a long time to put together, and then to speak on the points, and then just go through the video to make sure it was sort of smooth and I might sort of chop it up to get a little more concise because it's lengthy right now at 60 minutes. So yeah, I do expect to because here's the thing: it's facts are facts, and I can't speak. I don't want to speak on opinions. I don't want to speak from emotions, but I'm happy to lay out the facts and of conversations and timelines. And I shared something earlier who accused me of lying at me, being deceitful about our team solving a code at a certain time. And I was happy to pull up an email and show that proof and evidence. And so, that's what that video is really. It's not a sob story. It's not anything except here's the order of events and here's what happened.
So the video had been prepared. You'd actually uploaded the video. It was in that process, but during the chat, you decided that you needed to go back and make some edits to it.
No. I finished the video. I don't know. I was messaging Vapoc throughout on the progress, but the video was an upload process. Even at the beginning of this chat, I said there were like 17 hours on it or something. Somebody said your Wi-Fi must be slow. So, but if I have an opportunity tomorrow, I was trying to get it out tonight, so it could sort of be a listen and then then ask questions, so I don't have to, because we haven't even talked kind of the whole story here, But I think tomorrow I might like to listen to it now that I have some more time, rather than tonight where I kind of rushed through to get it done. So I'd like to listen to it tomorrow, maybe edit it, if I need to truncate it, and then I expect to publish it.
Okay, we're gonna go to Jeremy, and I'm just gonna ask, keep it civil, please.
Yeah, sorry. I speak my mind. So if it wasn't civil in the past, I do apologize for that. But I feel like there's a really big issue that no one else has addressed, and I'm not going to use any curse words to address it or anything like that. But
I don't mind, Jeremy. That's fine. If you want to speak,
yeah, I do appreciate your time. Let me ask you this: are you willing to say that you have lied to the community, and are you willing to say that you have lied to Dan?
I'm only hesitating so I can answer this question, with full evaluation and thinking over the last 2 weeks.
I feel like there's evidence that you've lied to the community. I feel like that's an easy one. Can you admit to that?
No, I do not admit to that. Certainly have I avoided questions? Absolutely. Okay. Evaded questions? Absolutely. I would be hard pressed for you to pull up something and say, this happened, or you said this, and that is a lie. I really doubt that would ever happen. Maybe it was, if there was something, that was like, oh, you said that, I can't even think of something silly. You said your dog was white, but they're actually, dark white. That's something stupid like that. But in matters of actual importance, or in matters around what we're speaking around tonight, facts are facts, and why would I mess with facts?
All right.
Hey, but Jeremy, if you're alluding to something or a concept, I'm happy to hear your thoughts on that, and then I can comment. And maybe there's a misunderstanding on your part, or maybe there's a misexplanation on my part. But if you have something in mind, I'd love to hear it.
So no, I'm speaking in general. I feel like we can litigate whether or not you lied on one particular thing or another. That's not really what I'm getting at. I'm giving you an opportunity to clear the air, actually. So if you say that you didn't lie, hey, I don't believe you, but you said it. That's fine. Other people can judge. I just wanted you on the record of whether or not you lied to us. The second question is did you lie to Dan? Because I feel like that's more to the point. So and then I had one follow-up question after that. But yeah, I would like you to answer whether or not you lied to Dan.
I would turn that question around to say, is this statement a truthful statement, or whatever the case is. So, that's such a no comment.
All right, you sound like JD Vance, but that's okay. So my follow-up question, which this is really what it comes down to for me, is like, what is the point of this? Like, why are you talking to us about this stuff? I get that you want to fill in some of the blanks and stuff like that, but I don't really feel like there's anything that you've given to us where we can trust anything you're saying. So like, what's this all for? I don't get it. I don't feel like you're being honest. I don't feel like I just don't feel like you're being honest. And I feel like if you asked anybody in the chat, they could point out places where you haven't been honest to the community. So I guess my question is, what is all this for? And why are we supposed to trust you in what you're saying now? Like, what's the point if we can't trust you in what you're saying?
Yeah. Hey, Jeremy, you're here earlier and grilled me pretty aggressively, convinced that as I was speaking about a timeline of my team's solve, you accused me of lately explicitly lying, right? And I pulled up the email and I said, "Would you like to see the emails?" And he said, "Yes." And I looked at the emails and it showed you 3 or 4 different emails. And he said, "Oh, okay." So I feel the inherent distrust that you have, and that's for you, But what is this for? It is for to speak facts, and it's fine to speak facts, and that's what this is about. Certainly in chat, we're in a competitive game and a competitive environment, and so naturally, I'm not going to sort of give strategy out, and so forth. And so in that regard, and you're playing the game, but I never said to somebody, "Hey, the trophy's there," or "We're there," or "Do this," or "I heard this," or "Somebody should do that." "I heard this." Jason said that. To me, those are like, right, those are the kind of lies I'm thinking of when you're talking about, unless I'm misunderstanding. So, why am I doing this? Because there's so much speculation, throughout the past few days, and obviously a lot of hate being thrown my way. And I don't know if this is going to help or hurt that, but I think for at least people to hear what I have to say, and that's what I mean. I don't know if it's helping or hurting or whatnot, but that's my goal, is just to come in and be transparent and see where it goes.
I think that's a good segue for a question from the chat that I saw. This is coming from Greg Lock. Chris, you posted yesterday, at least I think it was yesterday, people doxed and threatened you and your family, and police were patrolling your house. By the way, if that was the case, I'm sorry to hear that it came to personal threats, but was that true?
Absolutely. Yeah. I had people on Facebook message me, somebody on Facebook, and said, "I'm in several chat rooms. I've seen your org chart from your job posted." I'm not making that up. So yeah. And somebody messaged me and indicate and screenshotted a threat that was reported. I saw in my own eyes several other ones. One particular one says something around seeking him out and giving justice, that I think was a vote. So yeah, and look, and that was a little like emotional for me, right, in different ways. And somebody said, "Oh, I thought," somebody said, "Oh, I thought you quit Discord, you're back," or something, or I don't know what prompted it. But one of my kids had a nightmare unrelated to this or Discord. I think somebody's trying to tie it into that. And I think it just brought me out of the Project Skydrop world and into my home life, and then back in. And I was like, gosh, people are really. I saw somebody post my house and address and information, and what I bought my house for and all that stuff. Like I saw the screenshot. So you think about my org chart, my home address, and all my home info. And then the threats about serving justice. So I would consider those valid. I talked to Jason about that, and Jason said I saw those too. And Jason said, yeah, those were concerning. And what Jason said is, look, I've been threatened many times, but problem is, or with me, people who play my game around the world. So if a guy in Poland threatens me, well, and Jason's point was, here we have a large community in a small area. And so, yeah, for anybody who thinks there was embellishment or drama, look, maybe the tone of conversation, was like emotionally charged, but those feelings are real. And when my cameras pop up that are pointed out into, my driveway and beyond, and when my camera pops up, says vehicle seen in driveway, I guarantee I feel a little differently about that. And so, look, I know there's some people in chat right now or in the group right now who are like, oh, that's bullshit. He doesn't think that. He's just trying to sympathy points and whatever. And hey, think what you want to think, I guess. I have to be a really interesting person to lie and deceive to this type of a level. But bottom line is, yes, several people reached out. I saw several. Jason noticed it. And the concentration of players in this area makes those threats more likely than somebody in Canada or around the world. So yes, and yes, in terms of local law enforcement.
All right. Let's see here. I'm going to take a question from the raised hands. I'm going to just say Hummin. You are now the speaker. And I sent the request. All right, he's got it typed out here. All right, so okay, yeah, he got it typed in chat. I see. Okay, so you Hummin says you posted a video showing off the bounty gold, and it seems to have been removed during the course of this conversation. Can you answer us why?
Yeah, it was advised. Somebody made a good point that there's just identifying information. So I removed it.
Okay. Moving on to Bavetta again.
Hey, so again, you promised Dan that you would help him any way you can.
Oh, I might have server muted.
Oh, are you there? Hey, so you promised Dan to help him any way that you can.
Sorry,
and
start that over. I had you muted.
Oh, no worries. So you promised Dan to help him any way that you can, and you said that you talked to him at 9:30 p.m. the night that you went to get it. So I was wondering what you and Dan talked about at that time. Specifically, did you give him the update on your progress breaking the symbol code? Because I think that would make sense if you were working to help him, if you were truthful about trying to help him. And yeah, and that's it.
On Monday, Dan and I exchanged several messages from the morning time into the evening time about coming to as I've said earlier, a formal written agreement, and that never materialized. And on that phone call, it was also a situation that it was not negotiations ceased, and so that's what I have to say.
Okay. I think we've addressed this, but it sounds a little bit worded differently, so I'm just going to double check it. From the chat here, it says, to my understanding, Dan did not give you his secret words. So either Dan is Dan did not, to my understanding, Dan did not give his secret words out. So either he is lying and did give them to the other team, or the other team got the coordinates without Dan's secret words. Can you clear that up?
Yeah, the question is a little bit confusing.
I'll repeat it because I had I was
that's okay. I think I got it. I'll cover it like this. Dan freely and voluntarily shared his information. I don't know if he did it to anybody else. I don't know what he did. I don't know. It's not for me to speculate on that. I do know that there are many teams who had strategies and were in locations that were accurate. And I know some people had sources that they couldn't reveal. I don't know what that means. But so there are multiple teams, searching the right areas, if you will, and take that as you will. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. The next question here, I hope it's kind of light. I think it's in good spirit here. When you were working together with Dan at first, did he by chance give you an opportunity to check out the trophy in person? And what did you think of it, seeing it in real life?
Nope, never saw it in real life.
Okay. Let's see here.
And let me just kind of go back and clarify too on the before question. It's not conjecture that people are in the area. As I said, there's been strong evidence, in photographs, satellite images, of people being in the right spot, using everything available to the general public.
Okay. Did you explain to Dan the ramifications of him giving you his 4 word? Was he fully informed when he offered them freely?
No comment. That's a question for Dan.
Okay. Was there anything more to the anon sign that you left at the bounty site? A message, or were you alone when you retrieved the bounty?
As I stated earlier, my desire was, again, as people do in situations of winning a prize, to remain anonymous, to get affairs in order, before releasing identity. The sign was simply an added element of losing the word, but there's nothing behind it except for a little bit of dramatic effect in the finale of a competition.
Okay. I have a question here from Oh Hey It's Faye. And I am inviting you to speak. You might need to click on something in the app. We're going to. Oh, there we go. Can you hear us? Oh, hey, it's Faye. I don't know if they have a mic or not. Okay. While Faye works out that mic issue, question from Crimson Sardine. I love your guys' names, by the way. Just saying. Question is: would CJ be willing to have Jason serve as arbiter and decide how much of the bounty should go to Dan and how much should go to your team, and agree to abide by Jason's decision?
No problem.
See, okay. All right.
And look, I would say no comment, right? Because Dan and I are communicating. So I think and hope, and we all want a great situation. I mean, this is all very new. I mean, it's not been terribly long here, and so there's still a lot of road left, and optimistic that communicating and partnering with Dan to come up with a great solution, as possible. I'm looking forward to that.
Right. I have Jeremy who is asking about a follow-up question about the trophy.
Yeah, so I promise not to grill you or like give you shit this time. But like I am actually interested in the solution to the puzzle. Particularly, I like the trophy. Like, I have a lot of criticisms about this treasure hunt. I mean, I could talk about it for days. I think it was mismanaged. I'm not very happy with what you did or any of that stuff. But I am actually interested in the puzzle itself. I think that's really fascinating. I think that the trophy that Jason made, I think it was Jason who actually sculpted that. It's really interesting how it's got the Nevada GPS encoded on it. It's also got the seed phrase encoded on it. So I do have questions about that actual solve. I don't know if you can answer these or not, but you mentioned that you never saw the trophy in person. So I was kind of curious how that process worked. How did the pictures or whatever the person that you had on your team who solved the base 3, how did that end up in his hands? Because like from our end, we only had public pictures of it. We never asked Dan for anything like you guys did. But how did that actually work out? Where if you didn't see the trophy in person, how did those images get to the person who ended up decoding that for you? Like, what did?
Oh, sorry, Jeremy. I thought that was you did it. I think you got the gist of that question.
No, you can. I mean, he was going to say something if you don't mind.
Yeah, Jeremy, click the button on. That was my bad. There you go. Bringing him back in.
Yeah, sorry, I hate to be anticlimactic here, but all I was going to do is follow up. Like, the only question I had was like, what did you guys actually have to work with? And I'm sorry, like I was going to like text that to Vapox, and like it didn't require me to come back in. But yeah, what did you guys have to work with? How did that work out? If you never actually saw the trophy in person, that's it. Thanks.
Yeah, no, never saw the trophy in person. Never saw the trophy in person. We did have a detailed log of all the public images, as likely many others had. And beyond that, whatever else was used or required for the full solve, you'd have to ask members of my team.
All right. Somebody is saying this is a 250 fair. Says maybe it's time for a lighter question. Is there anything cool left behind the Anon sign, or will we all have to wait and be surprised when the next person makes it there?
Sorry. Not to my knowledge, not for me.
Okay. Did you leave any food for the squirrel and the mouse?
No.
So you don't like animals? I'm just kidding. I'm getting asked, can you please ask if the bounty was in Grandpa Watson's woodlot? I have no idea what that means. Okay.
I told you I went to discuss location about where we're not the bounty is.
2 hands. Let's see. I'm going to try Faye again. See if she can get her mic going here. Faye, you are on.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Hi, sorry about that before.
Sorry, who is this?
This is Oh Hey It's Faye.
Okay, yeah.
It's Faith. Thank you. So I actually want to ask about some ethical questions now. Being respectful as possible, I want to get like an honest account of how you view this ethically. And I know as far as like the treasure hunt, you put in a lot of work and all that, but I really want to know, ethically speaking, you know, if roles were reversed, like I really want you to try to put yourself in Dan's shoes here. As far as, you know, meeting his kids and his wife and how much time you spent together on the phone, like, do you feel like you've betrayed him? Because that's the term he used when he was talking to Jason about it.
Again, meeting his family is an embellishment. As I said earlier, you know, it was when the meeting his family is an embellishment. Seeing, sure, I saw, you know, from a distance, you know, his wife. And then I'm sorry. So, and he said, "Did I betray Dan?" And imagine myself in his position.
And if you were in Dan's position, how would you want things to go? How would you feel? If you were Dan, what do you feel like would be fair?
Yeah. Well, it'd be certainly recognizing that, you know, maybe I made some, maybe, you know, there was a way to handle this game that maybe I should have thought to do in a little bit different of a way. To your question directly, I think it would be to be fairly compensated for the contribution, you know, to the efforts.
Okay. One last question. How do your kids, wife, family feel about how things went down? Are they worried about what might play out here? Oh, I mean, that might be personal information, but call me a whiny baby asking about feelings. I'm really fascinated by ethics. I'm wondering, just because, you know, like, how does your wife feel about this? She was supportive about the whole thing. Is she worried about how things might go down, you know?
Yeah. Look, I appreciate the question. I'm not going to talk about my family. And that's not an indication, negative, positive, or neutral. Right? I'm just not going to discuss my family, period. And look, I'll, you know, sort of rationalize it this way. And I understand where you're coming from. Okay. Again, we zoom out from this game and from this contest. Okay. Again, this is not a friendship of 20 years and somebody dropped a 20 and picked it up and walked away when they should have given it back to the pocket that I chopped out of. Okay. And when we are privy to watching a competition and contest play out, okay, so long as a contestant doesn't break rules or you know, break a law, and I you know, asked Jason and Tom that question, you know, and they said no laws, no rules broken. So then it comes to the question, well, what is morals and ethics in a game of competition where you're trying to achieve a prize, right? One could argue improper morals and lack of ethics would be breaking rules, right? Obviously, we can all agree on that. And it's interesting because you're in this micro environment where it is different than real life. You know, the rules, you know, in a sense of the rules of the real world. And, you know, I do liken it to the game of Survivor in a sense, you know, and that's just one example. We can probably come up with dozens of examples where you're in a competitive environment with contestants and perhaps things happen in personal interactions and whatnot that wouldn't happen in the real world, but they happen in a game environment. And sometimes these people are cast as villains or whatever the case is, but they're doing it to get ahead in the competition. And
so you feel like you didn't necessarily betray Dan, but that you used your cards as you saw fit and won fair and square.
Look, I wish that it would have been not wish it would have been great if Dan and I had an agreement. It was solid agreement from day one when I offered it, and the first outreach to him. That would have been fantastic, and obviously would have abided by that and so forth. So fair and square as defined by not breaking rules. Did I break any rules?
That's an answer. That's a solid answer. If that's what you believe in, there are a lot of people that don't necessarily think that it doesn't matter how you got there, as long as you get there, whoever, you screw over or whatever, betray their trust in the meantime doesn't matter. And there are people that are of the mindset that it absolutely does matter and matters more how you got there than getting there.
Yeah. It's a fascinating question. It really is. And let me say this. And I think this is really important. In the beginning, when Dan found the trophy and didn't take a video, it was incredulous. People could not believe it. Oh my God, what if I would never forget. That's the only rule you had to follow. You get right. And what did we learn? And I said this too in chat at some point too. I was like, I'm not sure you can imagine what you'd be feeling in that moment. I don't think you really can. So you can, we can sit here and say, how the heck did he forget to take a video? That's like the only rule that you're supposed to follow, And that was having like a sneezing attack. And he forgot to do it. And I believe Jason confirmed, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe I saw this in chat from somebody else. I think Jason said that. I think Jason said Dan read the rules, and paraphrasing, but he was like overwhelmed or something, and just forgot to take a video because he was in the moment. I believe that's what I read. So my point is, I think that we can sit here from afar, right, and be like, oh, I would never do that. I would definitely do that. Maybe I do that. But until you have something like that in your hand, and then you go, I'm not breaking any rules. This is a competition. Gosh, what is the right thing to do right now, right here? What is right in this world that we're in? It's answer is different for everybody, but I just want to give the perspective, like, that's what that is. Dan knew the rule. He knew he had to take a video. But in the moment, it's like, whoa. And it might be hard to predict what your choice would be.
Right. We're going to move on to the next. Chris, the next question actually has some media to it. So I'm going to, it has a picture attached to it. So I'm going to send it to you in DM. Right. But I'm also going to post the picture in the chat for the room just so everybody can see what we're talking about here. So the question that I was asked is, the material that was provided here shows apparently an agreement. That's an assumption. I don't know there's some redaction here, so I don't know what's going on. But there is some information here about potentially donating $10,000 back to the creators should you find the bounty. Is this a active NDA in your words, or and if so, are you planning on still holding up that 10K to the creators?
So I know that's a reference to. Look, when you have a contract with somebody, okay, that contract typically explicitly states, or maybe implies that if there is value exchanged and that value leads to a solution, okay, then that contract is fulfilled. So if you and I sign an NDA and say, hey, you know what, let's partner together, and if you help me and I help you, we find a bounty, or your information leads to the bounty, we're going to do it. We're going to split it this way. All right. And then you and I, maybe we don't really talk, and we lose communication or something. And maybe I kind of go with somebody else, and then we find the bounty. I don't come back and owe you something, right? Because the NDA is in perpetuity. It doesn't just continue forever in a blanket statement. That was designed to say, you know, if you help me directly, and you have to prove you help me directly to achieve the outcome, then yes, we have an obligation to fulfill. So preface that by saying I know what that's referring to, and you know that that is a short answer is no. Now, however, you know, I'm in negotiations with members of in negotiations, you know, with Dan, and certainly, you know, that's private, so I'm not going to discuss what that's about, you know. But you know, that's a component that would be an interesting component to negotiations.
Blaze, you have the floor.
Well, we're reaching the end of the night. I don't really have too much of a question here, but I'm just very curious to see the 10 seconds that's going to follow this question. But first off, CJ, how are you?
Thanks, man. You know, it's interesting. Again, I go back to talking about to Oh Hey Faye. You know, we have a real life outside of this game, and this game is very realistic. And sometimes those blends, and it's a very conflicting, kind of odd feeling. So I'm doing all right, thank you.
All right. The only thing I wanted to mention is I'm just curious. Are you aware that during the course of tonight, you may have inadvertently leaked not only Dan's 4 secret words, but the location of the bounty?
I don't have it. I mean, I don't know. I know. Did I? I hope
you
not.
did. You did.
Fortunately, the game is over. But you know, I did state at the beginning that I was not going to reveal location or you know, any of that information. And I recall that I did, you know, show an email with a timestamp for somebody who's inquiring about a timeline. And I think that probably had that information. Now, again, fortunately, the game is finished. So I think that's inconsequential. However, in the spirit of the game, I wanted to sort of keep that search alive for anybody who wanted to practice their methods to locate the bounty without the four words.
So let's see here. Looking at the hands, we're gonna go to Bavada, who's been waiting.
Hey, thanks. So at the beginning of this, you said, it might sound a little familiar. Here's my promise to you. We'll try to help you with whatever we can, with whatever you want to give us. And then Dan exchanged value with you by giving you the 4 words. And you also said that he'll probably throw me a few $1,000 at the end, that's what you expected. So I was wondering what changed in your expectation of value that you would provide between the few $1,000 and your present view of things, and what value you concretely provided Dan during this period.
I think you're combining many things there. No, I never expected to be compensated based upon any of Dan's information. I stated that, you know, hypothetically, you know, if he chose to do that, or I thought he might do that, that's great, you know. But there's no expectation. Certainly, I never once
But it seemed like he accepted your offer by giving you these words in order to help him, right? He didn't give you those words for fun, right? He thought you would be helping.
So the way that the conversation was set up, and let me just go back for 1 second. I've never talked with Dan about a compensation or a structure or giving me something. Never once asked for anything from him.
No, but you told us what you were thinking at the time was that he'll probably throw me a few $1,000. That's what you said.
Yeah, and maybe
But what
maybe,
changed in your expectation of payment between then and now? What value did you provide him in the duration?
what value did I provide to him?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting paid for something, right? What are you getting paid for?
I'm not getting paid.
You wanted to be paid, right? And you said you think you wanted to be fairly compensated, right? You wanted to be fairly compensated. Is not getting paid fairly compensated?
I see. I was posing a hypothetical, right? Saying, okay, well, what if Dan had obtained the bounty? You know, would I be in a position to be compensated, and would it be my right to be compensated? And I'm pretty sure I put that as a hypothetical and saying I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, you said you thought the Dan might throw you a few $1,000. That's what you said at the beginning.
Okay. And then they're asking.
And so, what value did you provide him? Yeah.
No, man, no comment.
All right, we're gonna.
So was there? Can you answer if there was value?
Of course. Was there value in what in my role in this game? I mean, I'd argue every single competitor in this game brings value in somewhere in there.
We have moved on. We're gonna go to Hey It's Faye. Looks like we have one more. And I've sent an invite to you.
Again. You guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Do you have a question?
So I forgot to ask because people in the members chat wanted to know about the contracts or NDAs or whatever that you had several different people sign that allegedly said that if either of you solved the cipher or found the gold, everything would be split 90-10 in their favor. And I'm just wondering, there are a lot of people that might think they're entitled to something because of those contracts, because you signed these things. So what is your answer to that?
My answer to that is really simple. Feel free, and everybody feels that way, to reach out to me, and then we can talk about that. As I stated earlier, when you sign an agreement with somebody, it's like you're, you know, I don't know if this is the right analogy. Let me talk it out though. It's like I signed a contract with somebody to, whatever, paint my house. A certain company to paint my house. Okay, we signed a contract to come paint my house, and then actually the next day, and I don't pay them. You know, it's just a contract. Like, you're gonna paint my house in 2 weeks, and there's no clause about cancellation fees or whatnot. But then actually tomorrow, I find another place, and I want them to paint my house. So they come paint my house, and I pay them because they're cheaper or whatever. The other person doesn't go, hey, your house got painted, so, and we had a contract, so therefore you had to pay me too, right? So it's the same thing. When you make an agreement, as I said, it is about bringing value to each other, and you have to prove that your contribution and your contribution contribute to the solution. So certainly that would never be held up in litigation. So, but hey, reach out to me.
I understand. I understand where you're coming from there.
Somebody came.
The wording of the contracts, though, is that what they actually said? Like, did it say it's based on your value and contribution, or did it say whatever we find together is both of ours? Whatever either one of us finds is now we're both entitled to it. It's basically how some of the contracts came across.
Yeah, I have to read them. No.
Thank you, Faith.
Right.
All right, so let's see here. We're at 12:04. I'm looking to see if there's any more questions. There is one clarification question. You said your kids played music. Do you actually play any of those instruments? And if so, can you play us something?
My son's bedroom is right upstairs here. I do. I've taught myself piano, taught myself guitar. I won't play anything now, but thanks for asking. And I love talking about music. So, yeah.
All right. So I think I don't see any more hands raised. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap here. I know it's been a long week, or long night. Chris, do you have any other parting thoughts before we go?
Yeah.
And then,
Look, a couple things. I can understand. I respect people's opinions, and I don't come from a place of being adversarial about people who might have a different opinion about the way I did something. And, I appreciate that we're all sort of competitors in this sort of special, unique experience and environment that for many of us probably consumed our lives in a way. This is an experience that I think all of us, won't soon forget, positive or negative. Would I have done some things differently? Sure, absolutely. Would I have done some things better? Yep. Would I have done some the same? Yep. So, and it's, let me just stop there. Having said that, I'm going to formally and permanently hop off the Discord, just for the sake of kind of going back to sort of normal life, and so that's my promise and commitment. So it's not for any other reason except it's just sort of time to close this chapter and sort of move on. So, I appreciate the forum to, put some thoughts and ideas out there. Hopefully the beers that I had here didn't cloud judgment or encourage me speaking, but appreciate the opportunity to be heard and appreciate some of the thoughtful questions. And so.
all right. Well, on my behalf and just Chris, I know we've had a friendship through this whole thing, and I've enjoyed kind of working with you early before even Dan had the trophy. I know we had a lot of interesting conversations about circles, but I appreciate you taking the time and have fun with the gold. So have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
And that's a wrap. Have a good night, everybody.